What's up? What's up? What's up? It is your girl, Survivor Speaks, and here for another rewind. So today we are looking back at the trial of Ronald Anthony Burgos Aviles. This fool is accused of, well, he's been convicted. So he's been convicted. Let me change that to convicted. Okay. So this fool is convicted for unaliving his child's mother, Grisela Hernandez, who was 27 years old at the time, and their 18-month-old baby, Dominic Alexander Hernandez, on April 9th of 2018 in Laredo, Texas. This one is a tearjerker. This fool was a border patrol supervisor. There is something going on with the officers working at that border. This is the third or fourth time a border patrol agent has unalived someone. Is the job that stressful? Let's get into some legalities first, so we can get started. And please take this time to click out and hit the like button for me, please. Let's go so we can get this video out in the algorithm. I'll be right back after we take care of some legalities first. Video is being shown to you under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Hit the like button. Let's go.
Full cycle, I just might though just like a Michael. Mama gone now, I'm thinking death is not we entitled. And it was me versus me, them battles had to fight through. And when you way in the dark, them demons try to fight you. But you can't let them when you gotta see the damn light. Diabetes came from nowhere, messed up whole life. That's what I used to think, my mama helped me out. I got one dairy in the sky to make proud, don't count me out. Let's get it started, rest in peace my mama, I don't wanna talk. Fresh fit, who that little nigga, fresh the way he walk. New drip, I'm that one dude creating all the sauce.
Allow me to get some legalities out of the way, and let me see who I have over here in the chat. LOA, thank you. Hey, girl. Yes, this is a tearjerker. We're gonna look back on this case today, and because the case, a lot of people saw this case, but a lot of people missed it also. So that's why I'm going to be doing some rewinds, like just to refresh people on up on what's going on. And things like that. And I want to say, I want to make sure that I do say this, that our prayers and thoughts go out to the Hernandez family. I mean, this was nothing short of tragic. And definitely, we definitely need to keep the Hernandez family in our prayers. So I do want to say before we get started with the trial that the lead district attorney on this case was Isidro Alanis. Mr. Alanis is awesome, and he did not come to play any games with Anthony Lowlife Burgers. Anywho, So I've watched multiple cases that Mr. Alanis has tried, and he never disappoints. He was on another case about a border patrol agent out of Texas that was going around unaliving women, streetwalkers, and he said that he was cleaning up the streets. Sir, that's not your call. But anywho, but you were sleeping with these people, and then you would unalive them. And then one girl got away, and that's how they caught him. And it was disturbing to watch his interrogation because he thought this was a whole joke. He took them on a whole. He was running. He took them on a whole speed chase on foot. So yeah, I think I'm gonna do that one also after we finish with this one. I'm definitely going to be rewinding that trial, but after we finish this one. So the lead detective on this case needs to go. So the lead district attorney and the lead detective on this case needs to go to Fulton County to show them how to properly investigate, bad evidence, put everything together, and things like that. And the district attorney could teach Love how to correctly, try a case, know what the laws are, not taking something from somebody that somebody told you happened and putting it together because you just want to convict a big fish, Jeffrey Williams, who goes by the professional name of Young Duck. Adrian Love and her whole crew, including the detectives, need to be trained by Mr. Alanis and the people in Texas. I said what I said. I'm not taking it back. So Griselda's sister name is Angelica Hernandez. And she was just awesome, showed great strength and, made sure that her sister, got the justice that she did deserve. He also, by unaliving his child and his child's mother, there was another child that was left home to mourn. His name is Jaden Raymond Garcia. So I just wanted to make sure that I really tell you about the people in Griselda's and Dominic's family. Like I said, it's a huge tragedy. Her parents were there, was there as well, but her sister was really the one that kind of brought to the case what they needed to crack this thing. And so this fool, you done unalive these two people, you didn't even last a day on the street, but you have to see how he was manipulating the situation. It's pretty disturbing. And what he did to his own child, you tried to unalive him one time and it didn't work. And so then you figured that you take this young child out in the heinous way that you did take him out. It's never a good thing. So I do have, if you could drop some white hearts in the chat, those were Angelica Hernandez was asking everyone to drop hearts in the chat. And so if you remember over here, I also put a Yoda emoji for my members to use because baby Dominic loved Yoda. And so I added those to the emojis for the people that are members. But so let's get right into this case. Let me see, y'all. I think we got one more LOA. Yeah, you said what you said. And yeah, I'm glad it's the truth because we be all over, in different areas, together. So I'm glad that that it is the truth that they need to be trained. They need to hire Mr. Alanis. Get this detective from from over there because he put together a whole. It was amazing what he put together so that people can understand. And he traced Anthony Burgos's footprints, digital footprints from where he unalived these people, these two beautiful souls at on his job to his house and back to the job. That's how you do it. And you were able to see where he went, the route he took, where he stopped, how long he was there. He went home, he took a shower, he got out the car, they showed him, he got out the car, he didn't have on any shoes, came back, it was just a mess. I just need Fulton County to, get with Texas, and so they can show you how to successfully prosecute a case and not prosecute a case against the innocent people and giving immunity to all of the criminals and let them back on the street. I'm just done. But anyway, we still got this trial going on over there. You guys well know that we still have 2 YSL members on trial. And already we have seen that there is no way that Shannon Stillwell unalived Jamari Drinks. Loa, thank you for correcting me. I'm sorry. I'm like LOA. Sorry. Loa, I got it now. I'll never forget. Thank you. So we're going to get right into this from the opening statements. The opening statements were given by the lead DA, Mr. Alanese, and it's nothing but awesomeness that, for this case. He really, really, really advocated, him and his whole team, for this family, and I loved it. I loved that. I hate the situation, but love the way he advocated for this family. Let me go over here and get this started.
Something that's going to be said, it's something that's going to be put in. Don't concern yourself with those objections, or how many were given. Concern yourself more with the instruction they give you with that, if in fact they do give you an instruction with regard to it. If the lawyers have to do that, because if they don't make a timely objection, sometimes they may waive it. So therefore, that is the rules. That's what they follow. Help with that. Concern yourself more with the information you receive, with the instructions you receive from the court with regard to that as well. Very well. Let's get started. Mr. Anais, please read the indictment to this jury.
In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas, the grand jurors, duly selected, organized, sworn, and the web, state of Texas, at the January and June term of 2018 of the 49th District Court of said county, upon their oaths, present in and to the said court that on or about the 9th day of April 2018, and interior to the presentment of this indictment, in the county and state aforesaid, Ronald Anthony Burgos Aviles did then and there intentionally or knowingly cause the death of an individual, namely Dominic Alexander Hernandez, an individual younger than 10 years of age, by stabbing Dominic Alexander Hernandez in the chest or slashing Dominic Alexander Hernandez's throat with a sharp object. Count 2. And the grand jurors aforesaid, upon their oaths, do further present in and to the said court that on or about the 9th day of April 2018, and interior to the presentment of this indictment, in the county and state aforesaid, Ronald Anthony Burgos Aviles did then and there intentionally or knowingly cause the death of an individual, namely Grisela Hernandez, by stabbing said Grisela Hernandez multiple times with a sharp object, and did then and there intentionally or knowingly cause the death of another individual, namely Dominic Alexander Hernandez, by stabbing Dominic Alexander Hernandez in the chest or slashing Dominic Alexander Hernandez's throat with a sharp object, and both murders were committed during the same criminal transaction against the peace and dignity of the state.
Thank you. Do it to the defendant, please,
Mr. Burgos pleads not guilty, Your Honor.
Thank you. Commissioner Anais, you may proceed with the opening statement.
May it please the court, counsel, ladies and gentlemen, this is a case about the danger within. A danger within a family, a danger within law enforcement, a danger within society. The evidence will show that on April the 9th of 2018, started like any other ordinary day. Ronald Anthony Burgos here today, a supervisor, Border Patrol agent of 9 years, reports to the Laredo North Station for his shift from 6 a.m. He arrives. The evidence will show that he goes to his morning meeting that's called muster, where the assignments are handed out. At about 8:01, after he signed his kilo unit, you're going to hear that word kilo unit during this trial. And that is the term that they use for the pickup trucks. We've all seen the white and green trucks driven by Border Patrol. He was driving one. K66119. K66119. That was the unit that he was driving. He exits at 8:01 a.m. His destination, Father McNable Park off of Mines Road. That is the area that he was going to be in charge of that day, and the evidence will show that that area covers from Father McNable Park all the way to World Trade Bridge. He is a supervisor, and he has other agents under his supervision. But today is going to be far from normal. Today, April the 9th of 2018, is the day that he's going to carry out a sinister plan. The evidence will show that he invites a young woman, a secret lover, and the child that they have together to the park. But the evidence will show that the meeting that he's setting up for them is not at the park, but it is in a dense, brushy area near the Rio Grande River. He instructs her to arrive at Father McNable Park, to park her car, and to take the walk to this secret meeting. We'll take you there. You'll see, and the evidence will show, she walks by the ball field, then she walks through a nature trail, then she walks around a soccer field, then she gets to the river area where the dirt trail starts. The plan set up an ambush. The evidence will show that the Kilo unit, 66119, is parked at the end of this trail. We will take you to that trail. You will see the vantage point that when she's pushing her stroller and she enters the path, up ahead is the Kilo unit, the pickup truck. The decoy. What she doesn't know is that Ronald Anthony Burgos Aviles, he is lying in wait. He is hiding, waiting for her to get close enough to the truck to carry out his ambush. The time around that this is going on is about 9:45. The next few minutes that this young woman and this innocent baby experience is the most horrific and terrifying, unimaginable thing that anybody could imagine. It's at that time that her attacker, with violent and vicious moves, clenching a knife, attacks this young woman. But what does every mother have? What does God give every mother when it comes to protecting a child? What will every mother do? The evidence that they will protect, that they will fight, and they will even die in order to protect their child, just like a mother bear. Who is this young mother? Who is this innocent baby? Grisela Hernandez, and 18-month-old Dominic Hernandez. These are the two victims on that morning. Lives were taken. The evidence will show that the plan that Ronald, to make it look like some smugglers had attacked this woman. The dirt trail that he used his skills, that he knew so well, the trees, brush, the camouflage, everything he had patrolled before, were perfect for this crime. What did not anticipate was fight. You see, when we take you to this trail, there is going to be a lot of evidence that was showed how violent this fight was. We're going to bring you physical evidence. There's going to be photos. There's going to be lots and lots and lots of blood. This dirt trail will tell a story. It will tell a very tragic and horrific story. You see, the evidence will show that baby Dominic was being hunted, but not by a creature, not by an animal, but by his own father, the man sitting here today, supervising Border Patrol agent Ronald Anthony Burgos Aviles. But in order to get his prey, in order to get that baby, he needed to go through Grisela. "27 wounds." I said that. 27 stab wounds it took to stop Grisela. We will bring you evidence that will show stab wounds to her head, to her face, her shoulders, her back, her arms, her ear, that she was almost unrecognizable. You will see through the forensic evidence the defensive wounds on her hands that show how violent the attack was. You also see that in the fight, she lost her. The tennis shoes wearing were off her feet. After he killed Grisela, and one of the things that you're going to have to pay attention to is that this fight, this attack happens so sudden. When she's holding the stroller with her baby, he's got his little cell phone, his broken cell phone that only has certain apps or games. Comes from behind, the attack moves. You'll see the blood trail where she's trying to fight or get away until she dies. The fight moves from a south to north direction. I'm going to show you, this is a satellite view of the area of Father Macabo Park, the Rio Grande, and the brushy area where this took place. We will take you there through the testimony, through the evidence. You will see in this area, this dirt trail, of where this ambush and attack took place. After he finishes with Grisela, he's now able to get the innocent baby. The evidence will show that as she lays dead, he walks back to the stroller. We'll bring you the stroller. You'll see the stroller. He gets in front of baby Dominic and he unstraps the buckle to take him out. Baby Dominic is probably scared. How do we know this? The evidence will show that Grisela's blood is on the straps, on the buckles, where he unbuckled the baby. Mama Bear's blood is there where he unbuckles the baby. What he does next is something that is unimaginable. He takes the baby into the grass, into the brush, closer to the river, holding the baby, 18 months old, his son, and you will see the pictures of Dominic. Dominic is wearing a little green shirt from Star Wars. And on that shirt, he has a picture of Yoda. It's the baby Yoda. It says, "Lucky I am." Lucky I am. We'll bring you the shirt and you'll see the shirt. One of the things, and again, I'm going to ask you throughout this trial to pay close attention to the details, because the details will prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. One of the interesting facts about the Lucky I Am little shirt, and I'll come and I'll show it to you, is that there is no hole in the shirt. Listen to that. There is no hole in the shirt. Why is that important? Because when he takes baby Dominic to the grass under a huizache tree and lays him down, he picks up the shirt. He covers his eyes. He holds his hand over his little face. He takes the knife, puts right in the middle of his little sternum, that little pigeon bone right here, and he punctures baby Dominic. But baby Dominic, like his mother, was a fighter, and he doesn't die. He doesn't stop at that point. There's no clarity as to what am I doing to this child. No, he has to finish the job. So like he did to his mother, with the same sharp object, he puts it to baby Dominic's throat. That little 3-inch throat. Sticks the knife, cuts the carotid, and cuts the jugular vein of this baby. You'll see the blood. You'll see how Dominic was left drenched in blood on his jeans, on the left side. Evidence that shows that when he gets stabbed in the carotid artery, in the jugular, that squirts. That's where he has to step back. And that's where the baby tries to stand up or sit up and then falls down. There's a bunch of blood all over his jeans. You'll see it. Now what? Now what does the evidence tell us? The evidence will next tell you that Ronald Anthony Burgos Aviles next is to stage the crime. Remember when we talked about in jury selection? Who decides where, when, and how to commit the crime? The defendant. Police have to work after. They have the head start. Him being a law enforcement officer, being trained, they're going to look for. So let me create a scene. You're going to see the scene. The first thing the evidence is going to show is that he grabs a phone, the baby cell phone that he would play games with, and he takes that. The next thing he does is that he throws the stroller to the east in the brush. There's a shoe around that area where the initial ambush took place. He grabs a shoe and he throws it towards the river. And it lands in the tall grass. Next, he has to go to Grisela. What does she have? That's important. Her phone. He grabs her phone. But what happens? What happens when a double murder has just occurred? There's adrenaline, nerves, fear. Panic starts to set in. It's going to be very important for all of you to pay attention throughout this trial to see the mistakes that he makes. He had a plan. Now he's got two bloody, innocent people down. He has to stage it, but things start moving fast. There's going to be many mistakes that he committed, but the evidence, and I'll highlight just a few that you're going to see. The evidence will show that in the Kilo unit, 66119, the official Border Patrol truck that he was driving, he goes in there. The two phones that belong to both of his victims, he places them under his vest, the Border Patrol protective vest, and you'll see the name Burgos, R. Burgos. He stuffs them under on the passenger side. During the attack, when Grisela was fighting and kicking for her life, he loses a belt keeper. You see, you'll learn that police officers wear a belt, and then on top of that belt, they wear a Sam Brown, which is their utility belt where they have their gun. But that's held by keepers. Typically 3 to 4 keepers around the waist to hold all the equipment together, right? It falls. It falls. It's stepped on during the fight. And blood droplets fall on the belt keeper. And we'll show you who those blood droplets belong to. He throws that belt keeper into the truck. And guess where it lands? Under the front seat. Under the seat. 9:49 a.m. How did we get that time? We're going to bring you GPS evidence. From Border Patrol has technology, right? We're going to bring you the evidence that shows that in this circumstance, when you turn off your unit, the system, the GPS system, records the time it turns off. The evidence is going to show place was between 9:49 and 10:10 a.m. I'll repeat that. It's very important. 9:49 to 10:10 a.m. in between that time. At 9:49, the GPS turns off one time. Could it be that that's when Grisela was coming up, pushing the stroller, and he had to hide? At 10:10, it turns off again a little bit further down the trail at 10:10. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot going on at this time. What did we say in jury selection? That sometimes evidence is lost. Who controls the evidence? I'll tell you right now, we're not going to have bloody pants. We're not going to have a bloody shirt. We're not going to have bloody shoes, boots, or tennies. We're not. The evidence of what he was wearing, we do not have. That he had time on his side. And if you want to see the knife that was used, you're not going to see it. We do not have the murder weapon. Oh, I'll tell you what we do have. We have technology. You see, when he's leaving the brush area, there's a camera, a security camera set up by DPS in the brush, facing an area where normally there's either criminal activity, and they're called drawbridge cameras. There is a camera pointing to the east. You will see his kilo unit, his truck, driving by, and it snaps a picture. Also evidence of camera footage from throughout the city of his path after the murder. It's importantly and chronologically case. He has just killed 2 people using a knife. At least 29 stab wounds. You will see the tremendous amount of blood at the crime scene. How do you control so much blood? You can't. One of the mistakes was, and maybe it wasn't, but the evidence will show that baby Dominic's blood on the back tailgate. There's blood. Baby Dominic's blood. Marking the trucker. You're going to see it. You'll see video footage from his home, from the neighbor's camera, sometime after 10:15, 10:30, shortly after the double murder. You will see this man who sits here today. You will see him getting off his government vehicle in shorts. I said that. You're going to see him, after the murders, get off his truck, shorts and tennies. He went to work that morning in his full green uniform. He left at 8:01 a.m. with his full green uniform. And after the murders, his neighbor's video catches him getting off his truck, and he leaves it on. He leaves it on. But you'll see a glimpse. You'll see the shorts, you'll see the tennies, you'll see him. He's not there more than 10 minutes. Comes out. Now you won't see the evidence of him coming out in his full green uniform. Unfortunately, we don't have that. Camera didn't catch it. But you'll have his actions of what he needs to do next. And what does he have to do? The man's in charge of this sector between Father McNabb Park and World Trade Bridge. He's just committed a murder. He's gone home. He's gotten rid of evidence. Gone home, got dressed again. Now he has to get back. But what happens when he comes back? A couple of his agents see him. They see him driving erratically, speeding in the area near World Trade Bridge. What does that do? What does that do? You'll hear from those agents, and they'll tell you his demeanor. There's decisions now having to be made on the fly. Things happen. Things are changing now, right? Maybe somebody else was going to find the body, but now he's been spotted, driving fast, probably trying to get to some spot. So what does he decide to do? The evidence will show that he turns around near World Trade Bridge, drives back all the way to Father McNabb Park, where he's trying to get back to the area where the 2 bodies now have been for possibly more than an hour already. And when he's driving in, he runs into Border Patrol Lara and Smith to be parked near the field. Obviously they shouldn't have been, but they were there, fixing maps in their truck. The evidence will show that Border Patrol supervisor pulls up, hands are clenched on the steering wheel, and he asks a very odd question, and you'll hear it. He asks Border Patrol Lara, what's over there? Pointing to the brushy area. And Lara says, well, there's an AT trail. There's a trail that we have. Do you know if there's an exit? Lara's like, well, I don't think so, but if you want to go check. Right after that, the evidence will show that he comes on the radio Lara, get over here. I need you. That's where he initiates this whole charade of finding a dead body. And we'll get back to that. But it's going to be very important for you to pay attention to what the Border Patrol agents and the police officers who respond, because the evidence is going to show, and you're going to hear that the one that makes the call is none other than Ronald Anthony Burgos Aviles. The man that sits here today is the one that calls in about a subject down. Send the ambulance. Can we get more information? Send an ambulance. You're going to hear when he calls it in. And you're going to hear and see from the people that come here, the witnesses, that this man was there when they arrived. Now, how did we get here? And this story, I cannot tell you this tragic story without telling you the beginning. Because there is a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. The evidence will show in this story. Grisela met this guy who told her, the evidence shows, that his name was Anthony Burgos. That's very important. She knew him as Anthony. She got involved with him in 2015. You're going to learn that through her friends and family. She got involved with him in 2015. The evidence will show, and it'll come out, that he was married. They had 2 little boys. They were having this secret relationship where they would see each other. You may even hear during this trial, friends with benefits. And that was their relationship. They would get together to have a good time. But she got pregnant in 2015. She gets pregnant. On July the 26th of 2016. July the 26th of 2016. Little baby Dominic Alexander Hernandez is born. The evidence will show that this innocent baby was alive. He was being provided for by Grisela and her family. Not once, the evidence will show, not once did this man who sits here today ever take responsibility for that innocent baby. Hey, right? Babies are expensive. Grisela had dreams. She had hopes, had goals. You're going to learn that one of her dreams, one of her goals was to become a nurse like her older sister, Angelica. And we're going to bring you Angelica. And Angelica is going to be a very important witness in making the connection between her baby sister and this guy that they know as Anthony. Because their meetings were secret, the family didn't. And Grisela protected him. So much so that for the first 18 months of Dominic's life, she made herself financially responsible. You're going to learn that she wanted to be a nurse, but because of the financial strain that was going on in her life, she needed help. You're going to find out through the evidence that she was supporting her baby in the daycare through student loans. But student loans can only go so far. Right? Baby needs daycare. He said I needed help. And how do you get help in the state of Texas? Child support.
Mm-hmm.
And Grisela did what the right every young woman has who becomes pregnant when there's a father who does not want to make himself responsible. She exercised her right to go to the Texas Attorney General and begin the process. You will see the evidence of her trying to say, hey, help me out. Help me out. But no help was coming. So what do? So the chronology is going to show that in 2017, in December, she starts practicing how to tell him, hey, I'm going to have to go to the Attorney General. In January of 2018 is when she says, I need help. I'm thinking about going to child support. Can you help me out? This is when, and the evidence is going to show, and you're going to have to pay close attention to this. This is when the Facebook activity is going to spike up with their communications. Every time she brings up child support, what he does is deflect the subject by using humor, about sex, giving her guilt trips. You're going to see this pattern, right? But he's not showing rage. He's not showing anger. You'll see communications. Dominic and Nene, the baby, or the baby. But he doesn't use Dominic's name. By March the 21st of 2018, By that time, he's already been served. When you file a child support action in the state of Texas, one of the first steps is what's called a negotiation conference. A negotiation conference. And that's where the state of Texas will try to bring the father into a meeting to try to work out, hey, this is what the percentage is, this is what you're going to have to pay. By March the 21st, that was already set. You're going to see evidence that that train was moving. That legal proceeding had already started. And then something happens that had never happened before. Something happens. He says, I want to meet Dominic. And I guess through the pressure, something else comes out through these Facebook communications. And there's a prediction. A prediction where he tells Grisela, in a few weeks, I don't think you're going to want to be my friend. Real subtle. In a few weeks, I don't think you're going to want to be my friend. March 24th, I want to see you guys tomorrow. In the morning of March the 25th, this is a very important date. On March the 25th, approximately at around 9:49 a.m., she gets a text to meet him at Winfield Park, off of Del Mar and Winfield. There's a park as you go into this neighborhood. He selects the area. This is a big day, because for the first time in baby Dominic's 18 months alive, he's going to meet his father. The evidence will show that she goes over there, gets there, says he's going to be playing basketball, and he's there at the park. Sends her the instructions. She arrives. She shows baby Dominic, introduces baby Dominic to his father. She has to go back to her vehicle to get some stuff. So she gives the baby over to the father. Something that maybe she shouldn't have done. But she so badly wanted to trust this man. She hands over her innocent child to him. She goes to the truck or the car. When she comes back, baby Dominic is crying. Baby Dominic is in crisis. Something's going on with baby Dominic. She can't figure it out. It's so bad that she cancels the meeting. She takes the baby back and says, I gotta get out of here. I gotta go. You're gonna hear evidence from Angelica Hernandez. And you're gonna see the communications of saying something happened to Dominic. What? What happened to Dominic? I don't know, I think he got bit by something. They get over to Angelica's house, and the evidence will show that Angelica, being a registered nurse, they strip down the baby, starts to examine the baby, and they find a small wound on his thigh. On his thigh. Think about it. You take your child out to a park in April. It's warm. You're in the outdoors. What happened? It was probably a spider bite. It was probably a spider bite. Even at that moment, ladies and gentlemen, Grisela, Angelica, still no indication that they were in danger. It'll be very later on, and the evidence will show that in fact, was not. You're going to hear evidence and testimony that over the course of the next 15 days, from March the 25th up until April the 9th, and you're going to see evidence that baby Dominic's leg did not heal. It did not heal. It got so bad, ladies and gentlemen, that you're going to see that he was unable to stand. He could not walk. This is an 18-month-old child that was running around like any toddler up until March the 25th. And after March the 25th of 2018, he was dragging himself, crawling around. The mama was worried. She wanted answers. You'll hear from Dr. Rodriguez, one of the physicians, a pediatrician that went to go see him. They took baby Dominic. And what do doctors rely on when it comes to children? First thing they're going to ask you is the history. You're going to have Dr. Rodriguez come here and he'll talk about the history that was given to him by the mother. But it was a day or so after the injury. There were some photos that were taken by Angelica at her house. She had instructed her sister to show them to the doctor. She didn't show them to the doctor. The doctor went based on what he was being told by Mama. Mama was telling him that it was a spider bite. So the evidence in the protocol you're going to see that was followed was that of a spider bite treatment. Antibiotics, other little anti-inflammatory type things. And you know what? It's always easy to go back and say, if we would have known. Because it was a hole. You're going to see it, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to show you the pictures. That on his little left eye, he has a prick, a hole. But what caused it? What caused it? And we're going to bring you evidence that is going to be a very plausible source of what caused that injury. I won't say it now, but we'll bring it to you. I'll finish up with this. I can have 5 more minutes, 10 more. That morning of April 9th, she goes. She's going to go meet Anthony. She's going to meet Anthony. She calls her sister Angelica, and she tells her, "Can I borrow your Mercedes?" She says yes. Angelica picks her up. She goes and drops Angelica off. Then they go to Chick-fil-A. They buy one of his favorite meals, a chicken mini. It's at 8:14 in the morning. After that, the evidence will show that they deliver the food to Angelica at work, and she makes one more stop at Adriana Flores' house. We will bring you Adriana Flores, the last person to see her alive. Now, Adriana would have told her, "Hey, I'll take care of the baby." She says, "No, I'm going to see the father at Father McNable Park. I'm going to see Anthony." She leaves. She goes. She gets to the park at 9:09 a.m. We're going to show you video of the car driving in the white Mercedes sedan as she drives in and out of the different parking spaces. She waits. There's a text that she gets. We figure the evidence will show her indication to go. She loads her stroller. She loads Dominic, and she starts the 10 to 15 minute walk over to Father McNable Park. And when she gets there, she's killed. Now we have a double murder on our hands. The Laredo police are in charge of unraveling this tangled web. And we're going to bring you those witnesses. We're going to bring you family. We're going to bring you friends, Border Patrol police officers that will give you facts and show you how the evidence shows that this man used his skill, used his training, used deception, and used extreme violence to carry this out. One of the most shocking, and I need to say this, the most shocking moments in this case is going to be discovered his identity. You're going to hear from Sergeant Gilbert Benavides, one of the officers who identified the vehicle, and they run the license plate. When he runs the license plate, it gives an address to Angelica Hernandez. So he goes to Angelica Hernandez's house, makes contact, and verifies. Angelica Hernandez is terrified. My sister, can you tell me what she's doing? Yeah, she went to the park to go meet Anthony. At this moment, and you're going to hear the live transmissions of Gilbert Benavides on Channel 3, where he says, subject 82, which is dead, went to meet baby daddy or her ex, some guy named Anthony Burgos. Every cop that's on scene has a radio or a radio on his waist. That's broadcast. And guess who's standing around there at that time? That man right there. He hears it. He makes his way. The evidence will show. He takes a 10-minute walk to go back to Grisela's car. And then you're going to hear, does anyone have visual on him? You'll hear lead detective, Raimundo Garcia. You'll hear his voice when he says, "Hey, that's the guy that found the body. That's the guy that found the body. Somebody get visual on him." And then Detective Ray will come and tell you he switches to his cell phone so that it's not broadcast. The killer is right there among the police officers in full uniform. Detective Reyes will come and tell you when they say Anthony Burgos, he sees Burgos and he says, "Hey, what's your name?" And you know what the evidence is going to show? That he says, "My name's Ronald. My name's Ronald." Deception. The name he gave Grisela was Anthony. And I'm wrapping it up. Detective Reyes has enough already where he says, "Give me your full name." Ronald Anthony Burgos Aviles. The officers figure out, one of the other officers there, Greg de la Cruz, I believe his name is, "Hey, get this guy's weapons up against the car." Sam Brown, "Hey, what? Arm him." You'll hear when at that moment when they ask him, the man gets close. It's a tense moment. You'll see Detective Reyes, big guy, 2-3 times any of our size. Thank God he was there. And they get Burgos Aviles. And they put him in the unit. Super important. There's a camera in the unit. We will bring you the footage from that camera. And guess what? It has audio. When he gets in there, and you're going to hear him as he sits in the back seat and he's licking and wiping his arms. Teléfono. He says that. Teléfono. Where are the phones? They're in the truck that is at the crime scene under his vest. The very phones that we use. That's that story. Detective Garcia will bring you all of this evidence. You'll hear experts. And in the end, Dr. Stern, our Webb County medical examiner, will tell you, in her opinion, that the injury caused to Dominic, baby Dominic's leg, was caused by a needle, between a 14 to 18 gauge needle. Something was injected into that child. It was too late now because the baby was now dead. There was nothing else that could be done. But Detective Garcia will tell you that in his personal truck, in his lunchbox, guess what we found? Syringe and needles. Syringe and needles. In the end, ladies and gentlemen, all of the facts, all of the evidence, all of the circumstantial evidence that you use every single day in your life will show that this man used his skill, used his expertise, used his job, used his equipment, used extreme violence, and used deception to kill 2 innocent people.
Mr. Bain. You may proceed.
Your Honor, counsel, members of the jury. April 9, 2018, the date of the murders, is a total aberration in the life of Ronald Burgos. Prior to that date, Ronald was a Border Patrol agent supervisor. He had a home where he lived with his wife, Amy, who is a U.S. Customs and Border Protection agent, and their 2 children, Gabriel and Damien, who were 10 and 3 years old at the time. On April 9, 2018, Ronald, who has no prior criminal history whatsoever, was accused of the murders of Gilda and Dominic Hernandez. This is an enormous anomaly, an aberration in Ronald's otherwise normal, law-abiding life. And now in this trial, Ronald is literally fighting for his life. As his lawyers, we have the duty to render effective assistance to counsel. The right to effective assistance of counsel is a constitutional right that every person accused of a crime has. We have the duty to screen the evidence, to contest it, and to make sure that only evidence that is credible and reliable is considered by you so that you can accurately determine the truth or falsity of the disputed facts in this case. For example, the state will present evidence from an expert in historical cell phone tower analysis. And they will do that in an effort to show Ronald's locations at particular times of the day, 9/2018. We, on the other hand, will show that a person's physical location cannot be accurately determined using cell tower site analysis because the cell tower data on which the analysis relies are too imprecise to reach any reliable conclusions about a person's location at a particular time. If Ronald is convicted of capital murder, he will die in prison, regardless of whether you impose the death penalty or not, because the only other available penalty is life in prison without the possibility of parole. So we urge you to weigh the evidence with extreme caution and to consider only evidence that you believe is credible and reliable. Thank you for your time and your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Peña. All right, we're going to pause really quick. I have a witness to bring in morning, but I want to pause real quick to give the jury the opportunity to go to the restroom, and then we'll be right back.
All right, so let me go over here so we can fast forward through these breaks. Just give me 1 second over here. I'd like to thank everyone that's here and watching for coming. I'm going to fast forward through this break. Please consider coming over to YouTube. We are streaming to Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. So next up for on the stand is going to be Grisela's sister, Angelica. She is a very brave woman and, carries this case on her back, kind of, because she in fact helped them solve this case. So, and that's why he was apprehended so quickly. Hold on 1 second.
Wait, let me ask you all a question. Are you gonna need the podium there? All right, I'm gonna slide it back out. Okay? It's just that I do have a difficult time with. All right, thank you.
We also needed this judge for YSL too.
Thank you. Okay, good. And I'll be there. Okay, thank you. So, actually, I need. Can you do me a favor? Put up. Saul, hold on a second. Can you put her on? Witness on video. Can you see her? By the way, you can't see her unless you put her on the with our device, right?
Correct.
All right. Yes, right here.
Sad.
Yeah, we need to set that up because even though there's so many cameras out here, the one that's real time will be the one that's the smallest one in the courtroom. Okay, thank you. All right, we'll make sure it's just muted. So. Oops, sorry, Senor. And very well. Is that are you on?
Lord, yeah, definitely. Somebody else. I mean, Whitaker's a little better because she's just finally figuring out, what's really going on in that trial. But still, the fact that she hasn't declared a mistrial yet is disheartening, especially when the detective got on the stand last week when he was questioning him and said that basically, I think was it Shannon was involved. What are we doing? Just he was involved. So you're saying that you're sitting on the stand saying that he's guilty. I think that warranted a mistrial also. I thought this was when I hit the jump ahead 10 seconds.
Members of the jury, we stand when men.
Okay, the jury's in now.
Your chairs, you could stand. You don't have to wait for us to sit. All right, very well. You called your first witness. You may proceed, Ms. Hernandez.
Good morning. Good morning. If you could just move up close and speak into the mic.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, now you do me a favor. That the device, can you just flip it forward like this way? Yeah. Okay, let's see if you're going to move up closer. My interpreter. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Mr. Alanis. I'm the district attorney. Can you please state your full name for the record?
Angelica Hernandez.
Okay. You can move the mic up a little bit, speak up loudly so that the court reporter can hear you.
Angelica Hernandez.
Very well. And what is your occupation?
I am a registered nurse.
Do you know why you're here today?
Yes.
Why are you here?
Wow.
My sister Grisela Hernandez and my nephew Dominic Hernandez.
Do you know how old your sister was at the time of her death?
27.
Do you know how old your nephew was at the time of his death?
A year and 7 months.
At the time of her death, how many children did your sister have?
2.
And for the record, we're talking about Grisela Hernandez?
Yes.
What's the age difference Grisela?
A 9-year.
Her other child, how old at the time of her death was her other child?
Jaden was 6 years old.
Okay, so she had Jaden, who was 6, and Dominic, who was 18 months.
Yes, that's correct.
Was she married?
No,
She was a single mother?
she was a single mother raising both her children.
When you say raising both of her children, tell us more about that. How, if any way, was she raising her children?
She was a single mother living at my mother's household. She was raising Jaden at the time. Jaden was 6 years old. He was, if I'm not mistaken, in about first grade going to second. Dominic was going to daycare that we've taken all our children to, me and her both. She was studying full-time at TAMU. She was pursuing nursing. She was doing her second year prerequisites.
And how was she paying for her nursing program?
She was paying for it the way I did, with student loans and financial aid.
And if you know, what would she be using the financial aid for?
She was using, well, her financial aid was primarily used to pay her classes. Her student loans went for her books and to get to and from the university and to pay for the child's daycare. Pretty expensive.
And tell us a little bit about Dominic. You say, do you happen to know his date of birth?
Yes, I was at my sister's C-section. I was the only person there when she had Dominic. He was born 10 days before my son, so that would be July 25th. July 26th. 2016.
2016. Okay, so he was now. So at the time that Dominic died, tell us about him. How was it a child? Was he pretty active?
Yes, he was. He actually started walking and running before my son did, even though they're just 10 days apart. He was always, I feel, the more active one when he was little. But yes, he was walking before he was murdered, but up to the date when he was murdered, he wasn't walking anymore. His dad had hurt him 2 weeks prior.
And we'll get into his condition as far as that goes. But let me ask you, during the 18 months of Dominic's life, was he receiving any financial assistance from the father?
No.
No. Do you know around this time she got pregnant or with birth, who the presumed father of the child was?
Yes.
And who would that be?
Anthony Burgos.
Anthony Burgos. And let's talk about when she got involved with Anthony Burgos. At the time that she had gotten pregnant, do you know, if you know, how long had she been seeing Anthony?
I don't know. What I do know is that they had met online. I don't know via how.
Well, don't guess. I'm just wanting to know that if you all you know is that they met online, but you don't know
That's correct.
What site.
That's correct.
Now, in 2018, was she still pursuing her nursing career?
Yes.
Was she still receiving financial aid?
Yes.
Up until this time, had she ever received child support?
No.
Now, let's talk about child support. Did you and her ever talk about child support?
Yes, we did.
And what was your advice, if any, regarding child support?
She spoke to me about opening a case for child support because she went to go apply for, at the time, I believe it was CCMS. It's a program that helps you pay for child care. And that's when my conversation with her, I stated some of the facts about the program because I myself was in CCMS when I reached out for daycare assistance back when my little ones were smaller. One of the requisites for your application even to be looked at is that you have to open a child support case. If not, it won't. It's just one of the requirements. So when I told her that, she told me she had already applied and they had already called her that if she wanted, to pursue with her application, that she needed to open a child support case since they had already checked and there wasn't one open. That was my conversation with her about it.
At the time of her death, who was she living with?
My mother.
Okay, and has she been getting any strong financial support? Tell us about the background there in your mother's house.
My mother and, at times my father, my brother, myself, we would help her out whenever, she would voice that she needed something for the children. Whenever I was going to buy my son or my children clothes, I would bring her along with me and we would do our shopping together. As far as diapers, which is what goes pretty fast when they're small, and, formula and taking them to and from the doctor's visit for vaccines, all those things, we would all help her. I can't say just, one person. We would all help her as a family unit.
Okay. But it is safe to say that you did advise her that she should proceed with the child support action.
Yes.
Permission to approach her.
Approach me.
I'm going to show you what I'm marking as State's Exhibit 43. See if you recognize this document.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Does it fairly and accurately depict what's within its contents here?
Yes, it's my sister's information. I recognize it all.
Do you recognize this handwriting?
Yes, it's my sister's handwriting.
Whose handwriting is that?
Grisela.
Okay.
Any objections?
No objection.
What's the number?
This is state moves to introduce case number 483, the child support.
Number 483 is admitted without objection. Thank you. State's 483.
Can I publish this here?
Come in.
So,
Mr. Knight, do me a favor. For purposes of record, 483 has how many pages on it?
including the
Look how smug his face is. I just wanted to just.
document itself is 11 pages, certifications are 2.
All right, very good. Thank you.
So, now, I'm showing you what's been already admitted as State's Exhibit 43. Can you read what this says up on top?
The title of the document?
Yes.
Application for 4D services.
Okay. And this is the application for child support.
That's correct.
And you see here what is the name is.
Dominic Hernandez,
And you see when this was also dated.
February 9th of 2018.
The information on page 2 is your sisters.
That's correct.
Grisela Hernandez.
That's correct.
On page 3, you see the information.
Yes.
And that here is the name. What name's up there?
Ronald A. Burgos Aviles.
And this is place of employment.
Yes, it is.
Do you know what this address indicates here? That 307?
11307 Pedrosa Street. Yes, I can read the address. I would not know.
Can you tell over here on 19 what under where it says the question, why do you believe this person is a biological father?
Yes, unprotected intercourse for years until became pregnant.
So this April February the 9th, 2018 is when she officially filed for child support. February.
That's correct.
A little bit over a month and a half before she was killed.
Correct.
Now, I want to refer your attention to the date of March 25th of 2018. March 25th. Do you remember that date?
Yes.
Did you speak to your sister on that date?
Yes, I did.
How would you regularly communicate with her?
Phone or text message.
Do you remember what her cell number was?
771-1633.
And what's the area code?
Area code 956. 956-771-1633.
771-1633.
That's
Do you know what other types of social media your sister would have been using around that time?
Facebook and Snapchat
Okay. Do you know
and
what
Instagram.
Okay. Let's talk about that. Do you know what her Snapchat name was?
I wouldn't be able to remember.
What about her Facebook name?
It would likely be her name, Grisela Hernandez.
Did she have a profile picture on her Facebook?
Yes, she did.
And what was that?
A picture of herself or herself with my nephews.
Well, an email.
She had a TamiU email address, and I believe she also had Yahoo. I wouldn't be able to read those out loud. I see them. I could recognize them.
I'm going to now show you State's Exhibit 490. Give you recognize.
Yes, these are texts from me and my sister.
These are text messages between you and her?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. There are text messages between you and her?
Yes.
You and your sister?
Yes.
Okay, you've seen this document before?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to see what that's There's no objection. Permission to.
That states 490.
Yes.
Admitted without objection.
Okay, admit. And now, place this up here. recognize some of the conversations that are going on here? What part of the talk?
Yes, I do.
It says from Angie, right? Is that you?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead and read for the jury what the...
Of course.
what it says?
So from me, it says, I'm sleeping low. From me again, it says, what's up? I believe prior to this, she was texting me, and that was my reply to her. Following, it says, from her to me, I was going to ask for a huge favor. My response, sup.
I will give you on the after this document. The outgoing income?
Yes,
So these are text messages to you to her phone, correct?
yes,
So what we're seeing is from her phone?
yes, to and from me to her, from her to me. Yes.
So go ahead.
Okay, so I respond, sup, and she
What does
texts.
that mean, sir?
It means like, what's up? What's going on? What do you need? And then she goes on to respond, Dom's dad wants to meet him, so I wanted to borrow your car so I won't be having trouble with the truck, referring to my mom's truck. I respond, she keeps on and she says, in like an hour. This is 3:25, 3:43. Like in an hour or less. And then my response to her was, okay. Why and where are you meeting? Is my continued response. So she replies, so I can borrow it? Asking again. My reply to her is it in a public place? She replies, yes. Oh no, my reply is yes to when she asks, so can I borrow it? My reply is yes to her. And then she responds, at a park by Winfield, public place, so he can play. He referring to Dominic. She responds, I'm freaking out. Laugh out loud. I'm going to take a shower real quick, text you once I'm out. My response to her, I don't think it's a good idea. And it looks like there's some emojis next to it, those little black squares. And then, but I put, but yes, you can borrow it.
Hold on there. So why are you saying it's not a good idea?
Well, because they just had a huge argument prior to this, after when she submitted her for child support. And from her words to me was that he was very upset. He was very angry. He didn't want to speak to her again. He said he was never going to go through with it. He blocked her from social media, from her accounts, from her phone, everything. And then all of a sudden, that's why I'm asking her, is this a good idea? Because all of a sudden he wants to meet her. He wants to meet her. I didn't know it was a park until she tells me in the text it was a park. But I wanted it to be a public place. I'm thinking, maybe they're going to start arguing. So I want to make sure it's somewhere public where if she needs help, there's people watching that can help.
Okay, so you're concerned about her safety.
Yes.
Then what do you go on to do?
That's exactly what I was sharing right now. Why does he want to meet him now after so long? And he's going to try to convince you of doing otherwise, referring to the child support case that he was so upset about and he didn't want to, go forward with it. And she replies, he can't convince me. I need that money for Dominic. He already accepted he's going to pay child support. And now he's like, okay, fine. I want to see him. He's my son. Oh, this is him talking. I want to see him. He's my son. And I want to see him. So I don't know if he feels guilty or like, well, it's all there, so might as well, or what. I'll tell you the whole story later. This is just part of it. I respond, okay. And she responds, he's not getting off of child support. That pendejo.
So that's on the 25th, right?
That's correct.
And she's pretty insistent, saying that when she says that pendejo, like he's stupid, like he's not going to get away with it.
Yes.
So did she end up borrowing your car on that day?
Yes, she did.
And did she end up taking Dominic?
They met. She took Dominic with her in my car to meet his father at the Winfield Park off of Del Mar. It's the only Winfield Park.
Was it in the morning or in the afternoon?
It was late morning, getting close to early afternoon, like right after lunchtime, around noontime.
What if at any time did you see your sister again that day?
On or about 2 p.m. I wrote a timeline myself, and I submitted it to you guys. If I can look at that, I can tell you exactly what time, because I have Vivint
That's okay.
at home, and it can tell me exactly what time she went to my door.
And it's okay as far as the exact time. I don't necessarily need the exact time. My main question to you is that did you have to see her again after she borrowed your car?
Yes, she came back home. She drove my car back home.
And more importantly, did you see her after her meeting with the baby's father?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And what, if anything, happened when you saw her? Tell us, walk the jury through how you came to see her and Dominic, and where did you see her?
So I spoke to my sister shortly before she started driving home. She told me she was cutting the visit short. My nephew had become very angsty and was crying a lot, and he just wouldn't stay. So I told her okay that I would see her when she would get home.
Okay, what happened? What, if anything, happened when you came in contact with her or with Dominic?
No.
So she comes home, she walks in the door, and as soon as I open the door for her, I see her with my nephew in her arms, and he's crying. As soon as I open saying, owie, owie, carrying him. So I'm thinking, something's wrong with him the way she's holding him. So I said, what's wrong with him? Why is he crying? And she just said, maybe he needs a nap. He's just been fuzzy since the park, and that's why I had to leave. So I said, okay, well, come on in and lay down in the sofa with him and see if he'll, go to sleep and he'll feel better. So she's like, okay, in my house in the living room, it's always kind of, dim, so everybody falls asleep easily in the living room. So she takes him onto the sofa and she lays with him there. And maybe about 25 minutes later, I can still hear him moaning and just being uncomfortable. So at this point, I tell her, you know what? And I can hear him saying, owie, to her still, owie, owie, mama, owie. So I tell her, bring Dominic to the room, let me check him. So I grab him from her arms and I lay him down right on my bed. And I start checking him from head to toe. My mom, whenever my children, or when I'm the oldest from my brothers and sisters, whenever something was wrong with us, she'd always, lay us down and check us to make sure nothing was wrong with us. So I do the same thing. I start taking off his clothes pieces one by one, and when I pulled on his little shorts, he wears a diaper at this time. He's a year and a half, so he wears a diaper. I pulled on his shorts, and then when I go to pull him down, his legs look normal to me at first sight, and then I flip him this way to see his right thigh. It looks okay. His leg looks okay. But when I flip him on his right, I see his left leg, a dot of blood on his eye. Right on his vastus lateral, right on his thigh, where you would get like a shot, like when the babies get shots from the doctors. So as I'm checking him, I'm talking to my sister right next to me, and I'm asking her, have you taken him in for shots? Because I noticed that as soon as I moved him and I went to check his leg, he started, owie, owie, like now he's crying. Now he's not just saying owie, now he's crying. So I'm telling her, when did you take him for shots? And he's like, I just see her eyes like wide open. She's like, I haven't taken him for shots. I haven't taken him. He hasn't gotten any shots.
Let me stop you right there. You said her eyes will get wide open. What is her demeanor, if any, at this moment? How is she acting?
I just feel at that moment when I asked her, she to straight panic, because then she starts like, what's wrong with him? What's wrong with him? And I start, hold on, let me check. And like I'm trying to calm her down because she's screaming, she's frantic, she's just freaked out. And I'm checking Dominic, and when I go to wipe the area with my hand where he had the blood on it, the little scab, whatever had formed, it wipes off, and then we start seeing black, like his blood was not red, it was like very dark, like a brown blackish color.
Let me ask you though, is she crying?
At this point she's already crying and screaming, and my kids can hear her in the cell, and they all kind of rush in the room, and I tell her to calm down. I actually scream at her and tell her, like, calm down, you're scaring the baby, because the baby's crying, she's crying, and she's hysterical next to me asking me what's wrong with him. I don't know what's wrong with him. I'm checking him.
Okay, so let me just question and answer. So you're just a nurse, right?
Yes.
Okay, you were training.
Yes.
Right? Here you have a baby presented with a wound or some injury, correct?
Yes.
What is the first thing you do as far as trying to find out what happened?
So my first thought was a shot, because like I said, the side of his leg, this muscle right here is where we put shots when you put shot in a baby. So that's why I'm thinking that. But when she says no, that I see the blood coming out, I'm thinking maybe an insect bite. And I've asked myself after that question, why didn't I think like a bee, a hornet, something that stung him? Because I've gotten stung by bees and hornets and no black blood comes out of it. So what I'm thinking is, if black blood or dark blood is coming out, there's something poisonous in there, like something is reacting with his blood. So when I go to squish it out and I'm telling her to calm down at the same time, it just keeps flowing, and I keep wiping it off at this time with the cloth, and it just keeps coming out, and she's freaking out what she's seeing, and I'm trying to stay composed, but I'm here that he doesn't have a shot, and I'm thinking maybe something bit him at the park. Okay, but
what, if any, information did you find out how and where would Dominic be bitten by an insect?
So I asked her if what had at the park while I'm checking it. Did the baby fall? Did you notice anything bite him? Did you not leave him unattended for a while? Did you leave him alone with his dad for any amount of time that you maybe didn't see? And I feel that's why she went into panic mode, because she did leave him alone with his father for momentarily, I don't know how long. She tells me that she went to the car to get the sippy cup and some snacks that she had for him, and on her way back, Dominic's father is facing the park and he is holding the Dominic on a bench, and I imagine he was holding him like this because that's what she modeled to me when she was showing me. And she hears his dad speaking to him about him being present in his life, because he doesn't want Dominic to go through what he went through when he was small, that he was raised by his grandmother, and he's going to be there for Dominic, and he's going to be present in his life. So my sister tells me that she took a while to get to him, to allow them to have that moment.
The bond.
Yes. And when she starts walking a little faster, because she starts hearing Dominic kind of cry or I don't know, be uneasy. But that was the only time she left him alone that she wasn't watching.
Okay. So the visit with his father was short then?
She cut the visit short because after that he wouldn't stop crying. He was just uneasy.
Now, so your nephew presents himself. He's got this described as a brown or dark, like a black blood coming out of his womb. What anything do you do next?
I tell her that we have to take him to the ER immediately, because one, she just told me the baby didn't get any injection. So if this thing that he has is he didn't have it before and he just got it now and he's in pain and so that blood's coming out, I tell her, you know what, we need to go now. So I leave my children at home. I leave with her to the ER, and we get there. They check him out. Before we leave, I took pictures of his leg, of the blood that was coming out. I just never seen that before. I just thought it was important for us to take the pictures because I don't know when we get to the ER if it's still going to be bleeding or not, but I wanted them to see what it was like when I found him.
Can I approach her?
Right.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as 463, 464, and ask you if you recognize these photos.
Yes.
Look at them both.
Yes.
Did you take those photos?
Yes.
These have already been reviewed. Now, did you come across recently an additional photo that you tendered to the state?
Yes.
When was this?
A Saturday afternoon.
Okay, so just this Saturday, you came across another photo with your phone?
Yes.
Can I ask you? That states Exhibit 44. Do you recognize that photo?
I took it. It was outside my mom's house days after the incident.
Okay.
And I was telling my sister to take pictures on a daily just so we can see what's getting better or worse.
So you wanted to document the injury?
Yes, that's correct.
So the first two photos I showed you, those were actually that day?
Yes, that's correct.
And this was
Days after.
Days
Mhm.
after.
What number is that?
84 and, I'm sorry, also you brought to us.
Okay. That's correct.
And this was also taken by you?
Yes.
And just recently discovered?
Yes, Saturday afternoon.
Any objection? Offering?
I'm offering states Exhibit 484 and 21.
Admitted without objection.
And published on.
Okay.
So, I'm first going to show you states Exhibit 463. You described earlier certain dark colored black looking blood. Is that what you saw?
That's correct.
You know whose hand this is?
Yes, it's my hand holding him while I'm taking the picture.
What are we looking at here?
His left side, outer side of his thigh, where the puncture injection wound was at.
Space 44.
Wow.
Same side, like side of his thigh.
44.
Same side, my nephew's left side of the thigh.
How, being that you were around your nephew, how was this injury affecting his mobility?
After March 25th, after that day, he
Yeah,
he went
YouTube
from
is a mess.
being a normal 18-month-old that can run, everything, walk, to not being able to walk anymore. Days after, if I'm not mistaken, it was on March 29th, I received a text message from my sister asking if she could borrow my walker that we used for our children when they were about 9 months old, when they were learning to walk, because my nephew could no longer walk.
Did you guys engage in communications again by text regarding the leg?
Yes, both by phone and text.
Let me approach him. I'm going to show you what's been marked with States Exhibit 491. Ask you to these text messages and see if you recognize the communications that are contained therein and if they are between, in fact, you and your sister.
Yes, that's correct.
Any objection?
Move to admit States Exhibit 491.
Right? It'll be admitted without objection.
And for the record, Your Honor, we also redacted any communication with persons outside.
Right.
So,
Yes.
What is that date?
March 26, 2018.
Okay, so we're still at March 26, 2018. This is 14 days before Dominic death, correct?
That's correct.
And this is after the child support petition has already been filed, correct?
That's correct.
And this is after the meeting between Dominic and his father for the very first time they meet.
That's correct.
So tell them.
These are texts from my sister. She texts, "Hey, Dom's dad is asking if he can get necrosis. He's all worried."
Okay, what is necrosis?
So going back to the suspected insect bite, necrosis basically is when your skin starts deteriorating in the inside. I had sent her some information, and we had spoken about if it was a poisonous spider or anything that had bitten him, there might be necrosis happening in the inside, since the top looked like if there was nothing but a little pinpoint.
You know, let's talk a little bit about that. You know, you're a nurse. You went with insect bites, right?
Yes,
Initially, when you first saw the baby, you thought injection, correct?
that's correct.
And what was the main reason why you went back to it being an insect bite?
Because she told me herself that she had not taken Dominic for any injections. So I trust her. That just went out the window, no injections. So I'm seeing black blood. I'm thinking something bit him. I'm thinking something poisonous bit him. I've gone bit by ants or hornets, like I said, or bees. So I know it wasn't that. It had to have been something that caused his blood color to turn otherwise. I don't know any bug that's been my children or myself or my brothers or sisters that has been that color. So I'm thinking poisonous, something poisonous is causing this color change. Time is of the essence. We need to do something.
Now, you take does the fact that you have been outdoors and apart also have something to do with it?
That's mainly why I thought it might have been an insect of some sort. He was around trees. Maybe there was foliage on the floor. Something could have been hiding wherever he was running or in the swings or play sets. So I'm thinking he got, either stung or bit by something.
I'm just gonna go up here, and if you know, I'm gonna show you something that these text messages contain. If you understand. Of course, we've had our meetings. You and I have met. We met with the state prosecutors, correct?
Yes, correct.
And I know it's been a long time since this happened, right?
Yes.
Now, if you notice up here, it says, can you tell us what those three letters are?
UTC?
Yeah, UTC. And given, do you recall it being explained to you that you have to do a conversion as far as the time?
Yes.
And that it's 5 hours behind?
I was not sure how many hours, but yes, I know it had to be a conversion on that.
And we'll get into that later on, but for purposes of the question right now, you do see that it says UTC, and you remember us having a discussion that it's 5 hours behind.
Okay, yes.
So when it says 12:49 a.m., it actually would be on the 25th?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So these,
That's correct.
Okay, so just for the jury's purposes, the conversations around the injury, they weren't on the 26th,
They were on the date. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. So this is going on at night, I guess, right?
After the hospital visit, when she got home with my mom.
And you guys are texting all up until midnight and a little bit past, maybe?
Yes.
Okay, very well. So then, let's continue on here. Where did we yeah.
I wanted to see if you could the exhibit, then after that, have a bench conference with you all.
Okay. So where did you leave off? Sorry.
I left off. I already read the top portion. I need to read what's right there on a little bit higher. No, I mean there, where it says yes. So the response to her messages about necrosis and higher messages, my response was yes, yes, and he and we should all be worried. And it says yes, pobrecito ma. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this was a chat between my mom, her, and myself.
What do you mean by pobrecito?
Well, because if it was something poisonous, if what I was thinking, a poisonous spider, that's very, very painful. I've seen what I thought at the time. I'm thinking brown recluse or black widow, something poisonous, and I've had patients that have come in weeks after them being bitten, and it is just
Or 25.
It's bad. It's very painful. It's very painful to get treatment to correct it. It's horrible.
And pobrecito means poor?
Yeah, like
poor child?
poor child. It must be very painful for him.
I know you're not, I'm kind of asking you to translate, but not really, like pobrecito means like poor child.
Yes, that's correct.
And then, keep going.
So she messages me some emojis. We can't see him here. And then my response, she says, I'm going home right after.
Do you happen to remember what those emojis were? If you do.
They most of them were sad emojis from me and from her. Again, because we're talking about how painful this must be for him. So they were all sad emojis, sad emoji faces.
And what is that?
Well, again, meaning like poor frowny, the frowny face on the emoji. So she messages, I'm going right after, and then I message yes, and I'm telling her to measure his thighs and to take pictures and to check him in good lighting. So I say just measure his thighs and take pictures, check him in good lighting. She responds, yes, I will, with some emojis, and then I respond with emojis, and then I respond, keep me posted.
This goes late into the night of the 25th, correct?
Yes.
All right, can you approach?
Yes.
Yeah, Lola, I believe that you may be right, but I don't know why 25 is sticking in my head. So, but you may be absolutely right about the 16. Yeah, he's evil. He's in even through this trial. Like,
If you can just remain seated while we do this. Members of the jury, we're going to go ahead and cut off for lunch. Obviously, for those of you who brought something with you can eat here, you stay here. Those of you who plan to go out to eat lunch, just make sure and be back by 1:30, so we can get started once everybody's here present, okay? Remember that when you go out, if you happen to go out together, or with anybody else, but the instructions that I gave you, I think it's the third time I gave you the instructions. Basically, if you need to remind yourselves and go to the instructions now before you go, but bottom line is do not speak with anybody about this case. What you've heard so far is not ready to be discussed amongst yourselves, or anybody else for that matter, okay? Thank you all.
all right, so I just wanted to ask, just to see the everyone that's in the chat, how you are feeling. I know we've been here for an hour, so I just wanted to see what the chat is thinking. Do you guys want to go on, continue watching, or so I'm going to go live tomorrow to pick up where we left off, but I want to just see what you guys are thinking in the chat, if you want to continue, or we can pick it up tomorrow. I'm not sure. I don't have a problem with I don't have a problem with continuing. I just want to make sure, if you get some feedback on what you guys think. And tomorrow, I'm wondering if I should start at the same time I did today, 3:30. Let me see if I see anything from other people that will be yeah, I think I'm gonna just nobody jumping in and say keep going or stop here. So I think I'm going to, because it's been like an hour and 35 minutes. So I think all I'm going to do is just stop it here, and then Lola, if you want to continue, I definitely will. So I just wanted to get some type of feedback to see what everybody was thinking. This is a very interesting case, and we haven't even gotten to the meat yet. Lola, I know you're familiar, and then Cindy as well. She covered the case. And I'm gonna have to ask her. He went up for appeal, Cindy. So yeah, I was just trying to figure out, because what's best for everyone. That's here. I do thank you all for coming here and watching this rewind with Survivor Speaks over here. But yeah, I can maybe should we do like the finish with her, because I think the sister has I think they cross her. Did he cross or pass They didn't. I think they may have crossed her. So let me just see. Let me see if she's due to come back on the stand. Give me one moment, because we can speed through these breaks and. Oh yeah. All right. So yeah, she's back on the stand. So let me see. Hold on 1 minute.
Okay. Can you explain what necrosis is?
So necrosis is my knowledge to what I've been taught is when your skin starts deteriorating. It can happen just at the surface or at a level beneath it.
Hold on.
Basically, it
This
starts
is.
dying.
That's when your skin begins to die.
Yes.
Was there any necrosis visible to the upper layer of Dominic's skin?
Not at all.
To your knowledge, did your sister continue to seek medical attention for the injury?
Yes. After the visit to the emergency room, she contacted the physician for my nephew, Dr. Antonio Rodriguez, to set up an appointment. It was a little bit too far along, so she decided to set up the appointment anyways. But she took him to Vital Med.
Is this cross?
Did you know also if she had gone to Doctor's Hospital?
I took her to Doctor's Hospital.
You took the baby. You took Griselda and baby Dominic to Doctor's
Yes.
Hospital.
The day of, after we finished checking him, we took him she got to my house approximately about 2:30. By 3:30, we were already en route to the hospital.
Okay. And approach on. I'm going to show you what's been marked as stasis.
These are hospital records from the visit at the ER.
And just let you know, that's one thing that's just in case it's take what? Take who's going to introduce Exhibit 84 of the medical records. Thank you. 10 minutes. Take 84.
Okay, so at Doctor's Hospital, please tell the jury what happened.
We get there with baby Dominic, and he's taken, after we shared Dominic's name, date of birth, basic demographic information, to the ER front staff. He's taken to the back referring to get examined by the nurse practitioner or nurses that get to check him. My sister goes back there with them, and I can see her from afar talking to the nurses about Dominic as they are checking him.
And what sort of treatment did they do for him?
They did an x-ray, if I'm not mistaken. They also did a lab draw for lab work, basic vital signs, respirations, temperature, blood pressure. They checked his oxygen level.
Okay.
I believe, I know when we left, she left with a prescription for an antibiotic. I believe another one for a steroid. I believe it was some type of prednisone. And ibuprofen.
Okay. I'm showing you from the records. Can you see here where it talks about, if you could read this line.
Instructions provided for allergic reaction, insect, local cellulitis, child. Follow-up and special medication instructions.
Okay, so, and then also the medications you just mentioned, right?
Yes, cephalexin, which is the antibiotic, and then prednisolone, which is the oral suspension of the steroid.
Where did they get the conclusion that it was an insect bite?
I imagine they came to that conclusion after me and my sister, after my sister shared in the ER that he had sustained an insect bite or some type of bite to his leg.
How much time had passed between the injury and this visit to the ER, you know?
We were there within the hour of my sister getting home. However, I don't know at what time he sustained the injury at the park.
Okay. So you finish up with that treatment or the diagnosis that is in him, correct?
That's correct.
And he's given medications.
That's correct.
And what if anything happens after that?
We go home. By this time, my mom has already shown up at the ER. So my sister leaves with my mom and my nephew home, and I leave to my house.
Okay. Now let's get to the 26th of March, which will be the next day. Okay? We're going to move relevant to the next day. Did you have the opportunity to communicate with your sister by text?
Yes.
And what was the general subject matter around that, about that?
Following up to see how my nephew was doing.
Okay. How may I approach you?
You may.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as 492. Let me ask you to look at that. You recognize that document?
Yes, I do.
And what is that document?
These are text messages between me and my sister.
Offer 492, Your Honor.
You object? Take 492 as a
Okay. Now, up here on line 2828, okay. Do you recall what those web searches were for?
Yes, I was I was sharing a link with her. The first one, if we were able to click on it right now, it should be a charting schedule for, I believe it was Thailand, and the bottom one is for Benadryl.
Okay, and those are websites you sent her?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Then on line 12841, if you can,
That is me texting her to see how, it says, how's Dominic? The following line says, how did he pass the night? And I'm telling her, jumping in the shower, don't forget his medicine right now. I was reminding her of the dosing schedule.
okay.
The following message says, it's from her to me. It says, I see him the same, foot still swollen, his thigh is still swollen and hard. He didn't cry all night and slept, but I woke up to check on him and give him his meds at their times, and he took them. No fever or vomiting, and his abdomen is still soft. His foot is still cold.
Mm.
And the other one is hot. I'm taking him as soon as the doctor opens, taking him to LMC ER.
Do you continue texting that day?
Yes.
We can start here at line 12847.
This is me texting her. Okay, yes, keep me posted. Keep up with the medicine schedule. She replies, yes, I am. I have the alarms for when I need to give them to him. I message you when I'm at the doctor's, and I respond, okay. Show him our pics, and that we suspect it to be a brown recluse or a black widow. Yes, I will send. Yes, I will. Send me the other ones you took besides the ones you sent. I have mommy's phone and yours. My camera is broken, so they're too blurry. I only have those two, was my response to her.
Okay, so here, your instructions to her were for her to show the doctor
The photos.
Okay, you can continue here on 12859. So she said,
Okay, I'll let you know what they tell me. And I respond, okay.
okay. What's her mood at this time, her demeanor? How is she?
I was not in front of her, but she was very concerned because when we checked his foot at my house before taking him to the ER, his foot was already feeling slightly colder than the other one, and you could see modeling on his lower part of his leg towards where his foot is. You could already see some color changes. And I imagine by this time, I didn't have Dominic in front of me, but I imagine by this time when she says that his leg is still cold, it might have been slightly colder than what I had felt the day before.
So even after doctor's hospital, she's telling you the next day she's going to, or she's telling you she's going to go to LMC now, and she's going to go see a doctor, so she's still scared about what's happening.
Yes.
Okay. And then on 2871.
This is from my sister. Stupid doctor didn't want to see Dominic until 2. I brought him to Vital Med and McPherson. My response, okay, great. My response, he's an idiot.
Okay, you guys are pretty much being frustrated about what's going on, right?
Yes.
Okay. You want him to be seen.
Yes.
Does he eventually get to Vital Med?
Yes, he does.
And does he eventually get to see his pediatrician?
Yes, he does. He sees, my mom takes them to Vital Med first, and then they still follow up with Dr. Rodriguez as indicated by the ER.
By now, and you testified to this earlier, but prior to March 20, he was able to walk on his own, right? Even run.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Did he ever improve to the point where he could actually walk or run?
He never, ever walk again.
Did you ever have to lend her anything as to assist him in walking?
Yes, I'm not too sure if she messaged me or phone called me asking if she could borrow my stroller that I use for my son, Tristan. She had a stroller too, but once they finished using their strollers, she would always donate to the daycare, whatever, tools that she had for the kiddos so other kids from the daycare could use them. And none of us were using strollers anymore. The only reason I had mine is I had stored it in the storage. She told me she wanted to borrow the stroller to see if that would motivate Dominic to try to start walking again with the support of him being sitting and standing and not forcing him just to get up and walk.
Okay. Yeah, Coach, I'm going to go ahead and show you what I marked as case exhibits 497 and 499 and ask you to examine those and tell me if you're familiar with them.
Yes.
Okay, that's on 497 and then 499.
Yes.
Now we move to introduce 497 and 499.
We have minutes 497 and 499. Without it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Can you read here on line 131, 51?
Hey, do you think I can borrow Tristan's walker later on for Dominic? My response, yes, of course. Thanks. Let me know when I can go for it.
Then on the 31st of March, line 13280, you send this website.
Yes.
What was that website about?
It was on brown recluse and the type of damage that's caused.
I'm showing you this dangerous spider bites guide. Is this what you were referring to?
Yes, that's correct.
What exhibit number was that? Not the other one that you had on the.
Oh, that's going to be part of 497.
Not in yet?
Yes, sir. 497.
So 497.
Yeah, 497.
I see. It was attached. It's attached.
Now the other messages on 497. We start at line 13282.
So this is a message for me to her. I still go with the recluse still. I think we just drained real good. I don't know. Hard to tell. Until when do I, this is from her to me, until when do I give his bite? Until when do I give his bite to heal? Referring to how much time does she give it to heal? Should I take him to San Antonio after all, or what? Or wait? Or what should I do? So my response, I think you should watch how ambulatory he is.
When you say ambulatory, what does that mean? How much he moves around?
Yes, because he wasn't able to walk anymore. He would get to places by crawling and dragging his little leg.
You drag his front arms.
He would, like if you see a baby crawl and they don't use one leg and they drag the leg, that's how he would get around.
This is on the 31st, right, of March? Correct?
That's correct.
Already 6 days after the injury. Correct.
That's correct.
And he's still not able to walk.
No.
Okay. So if you can continue on 13288.
He doesn't want to walk. He just crawls, and if he tries, he cries. I don't know if it's the swelling of his muscle is why he can't stand. My reply, probably. Probably yes.
Then?
So she goes on to text me. Mommy told Alex and Theo Felix. Theo Felix said that he has seen this before and to give it time. That it's the muscle. But I'm like, and then there's a bunch of emojis.
Do you remember what those emojis were?
I think those were crying emojis.
Okay. Next.
I just don't want it to get worse. And then know I could have prevented everything from the start. My response, I'm mostly concerned with the tissue destruction, but it doesn't look like that's happening. So I think he'll get better soon.
At this point in your mindset, the idea of a needle puncher that never enters your mind, is that true?
Not at this point anymore, because she had confirmed that she hadn't taken him for any injection. So I'm no longer thinking that.
You had no reason anybody
Not at all.
would inject that baby, right?
Not at all.
Now, did all of these conditions or concerns persist up until April the 9th of 2018? In other words, was Dominic's condition the same up until April the 9th?
Yes, I feel like he only got worse.
It only got worse, okay. At this stage, what's the mindset that you have and your sister has regarding this situation?
At this point, I personally, and my conversations with my mom and my sister, are that something is going on and none of us know what it is.
And speaking of that, even you mentioned also about her doctor, but that he could only see him at 2 p.m. Did his pediatrician get to see him also?
Yes, she took him with his pediatrician, and if I'm not mistaken, he saw him once or twice.
Okay. And was it sort of what happened with the ER?
Yes.
That it was treated as a insect bite?
That's correct.
So there was no, it was based on the history being provided by Mama, that Grisela saying, I think he got bit by an insect.
That's correct.
Okay. So, okay. So in other words, when he went to see his pediatrician, do you know if it was the same protocol?
Yes, it was. And it was because it was because
I could barely hear you, I'm sorry.
Your Honor, I believe we're speaking about a time when the witness was not personally present.
All right, so what you're saying?
I'll rephrase that. I'll move on.
All right.
My point is that do you know if she took him to her pediatrician?
yes, she did.
Do you know if there was any different diagnosis?
It was the same suspicion that it might have been an insect bite.
Did this condition persist around 18, the day that Dominic was killed?
Yes, it did.
Okay. Let's go to that day, okay? I want you to go back to that day and tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what, if anything, happened on that day.
The day before.
Could you try and go in a question and answer basis as opposed to what the day looks like?
At the beginning of April the 9th, let me ask you this. April 9th, if your sister had plans to take Dominic out of town?
Yes, she did. She was going to take him with my mom to San Antonio to get checked out somewhere, anywhere with a pediatric specialties. We don't have specialties, any type of specialty like that in Laredo. She was going to go take him to get checked out Wednesday.
On Wednesday. He was
on the
killed,
11th.
Okay, on the 11th, but he was killed on a Monday.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so she never got to take him to
No,
school.
she didn't.
Okay. Now, let's go to the beginning of that day in the morning. When, if any, was the first time that you spoke or had contact with your sister?
I picked her up at about 7:40 at her house. I picked her up in Dominic.
And in relation to picking her up, had she made any requests to you the day before?
The day before Monday, asking to borrow my vehicle so she can meet with Dominic's father.
Okay. Time to approach on. I'm going to show you what's been worth testing to the 493. Ask you to look at the documents. You recognize this?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And these are text messages between you and your sister?
That's correct.
Stage 493.
Stage 193, any objection? They will be admitted without objection.
Okay, publish, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Document that's with line 13815 states exhibit 493. You were just testifying that she would have asked you prior to Monday about borrowing your car.
That's correct.
Okay, so can you please read that?
Text message from my sister to myself. Hey, I was going to ask if I can borrow your car so I can take Dominic tomorrow with his dad. Couldn't ask on the phone because Jaden is right here. Let me know. Oh, it'll be early, he said. Works at 11, I think.
Okay, I'm gonna go to line 13889.
Totally forgot Jaden was right here hearing. Hey, so I was going to ask if I can borrow your car in the morning to go have breakfast with Dominic's dad. If yes, I'll take it right back afterwards and I can get picked up there at your work, so you won't have to bring me.
Okay, let's continue on the next.
She goes on to say, if not, it's fine. I know you work tomorrow. It would be like 8 a.m. And then I'm like, so you're gonna drop me off? And she replies, yes, if you can. I'll take it to you as soon as I'm done. And then my response to her is, okay, what time do you need me to be ready? Her response is, what time do you need me to be ready? I think we missed something right there. I tell her at 7:30, and she responds, okay, I'll be ready by then.
Okay, so does that in fact come to be?
Yes.
How does that happen that morning of the night?
I leave my house in the morning with my oldest son in the car. I drive over to my mother's house. I pick her up and Dominic. She puts her car seat in the back for Dominic. She straps him in, and we leave the house to drop off my oldest son at Finley. At the time was the school he was attending. And then we leave to my work so she can drop me off.
What kind of vehicle would she normally drive?
She would drive my car.
But when she wasn't driving your car,
Oh, she would drive my mother's truck.
do you remember what kind of truck that was?
It was a blue Expedition, Blue Explorer.
Was it an Explorer, like an SUV?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, but what's the reason about your car? She liked
Issues with her truck. It would have issues starting up.
your car was more reliable.
That's correct.
And what kind of car did you have?
And not only that, my mom used her car also for work, and she didn't know at times what time she needed to step up to the bank or anything if she needed to leave. So my car, I go to work, I leave my car there, and I use the company car to do my visits for my patients. So my car would literally just be sitting there.
So you all would help Griselda out with letting her the car, or be your mom or your son. I'm going to show you stations of the 107, 108, 109, and 113.
These, I recognize him, that's my car.
I believe these have previously been. Yes. Okay, so this is the car that she would have been driving on the 9th?
That's correct.
Okay. Do you know where this location is?
Yes.
Where?
It's at the Father McNoble Park.
The Father McNoble?
Yes.
Have you been there before?
Yes, we grew up in that park. We've been going there since we were school age.
How far do you all live from that park?
A couple of blocks from my house, just down the street.
And what part of town is this in? Please tell me.
It's off of Mines Road. The first subdivision, it used to be, back in the day, Delwood. It was the first subdivision. You head on Bristol all the way down and you hit the park.
And it's actually a big complex, correct?
Yes, it's grown very much since we moved there when I was about 11. So it's grown to soccer field, baseball field, a trail to bike and run in.
All right. You recognize this photo?
Yes.
What do you see in here?
Dominic's car seat in the back of my car.
Did you already have that in there, or was it placed by?
No, she placed it the morning that she used the vehicle.
Okay. So how did you facilitate that morning, giving her your car? Like how did you do? You said you were going to morning?
I went to pick after leaving my home with my son. I picked her up. She put her car seat in the car. She got in the car. She strapped in Dominic. We left to drop off my son at his elementary school, and we left to my work. We get to my work. I get off. I ask her if she could bring me breakfast, so she went to Chick-fil-A, which was the nearest closest restaurant, to get me breakfast. She comes back, brings me my food, and I get my food from her. I look to the back seat and my nephew's sitting in his car seat.
What's he doing?
He's eating some chicken minis from Chick-fil-A, and he turns around and looks at me, and I just blow him a kiss from afar, and I tell him goodbye, that I'll see him soon, and that I love him. And I tell my sister goodbye. And that's the last time I saw them both.
You know where your sister was going? Where was she going, if you know?
She was heading home to change. We're going to head to the Father McNoble Park to meet Dominic's father.
Do you know how many phones your sister had?
Yes, she had she had two phones. She had one working phone, and she had another phone that Dominic, she would carry for Dominic, and he would see, you know, the little educational videos and songs that he would listen to on the phone from daycare.
The father of Dominic, as far as you knew.
Anthony.
Did you know the last name?
Anthony Burgos.
Are those the only two names you knew?
At the time.
Now let's go a little bit further after that morning. If the last time you saw her was after more or less 8:30 in the morning when she dropped you off your food, did you ever try to make contact with her later that morning?
I did, but she no longer answered her phone.
When did you attempt making contact with her, or why?
It had already been a little too long. She was going to come pick me up before lunch, and it was not usual for her to not call or text or send a photo of Dominic if they were out somewhere.
What, if anything, happened close to?
Several things happen simultaneously. So I have my phone, and I get alerts from Vivint if there's ever anybody detected in your camera, or if anybody rings your doorbell. At the same time that I'm receiving these messages, my phone rings, and the call from an investigator or a detective. And
Remember his name?
Rodriguez or Ramirez.
Benavides? Or what were they?
There was two officers. I think one of them was in a suit, and one of them was more casual with jeans and like a polo shirt.
Okay.
And he was wearing a homicide lanyard.
Would that be Gilbert Benavides?
That's correct.
How do you know he was wearing a homicide lanyard? Did you see him in person, or did you see him on your Vivint, or how did you?
I saw him in person when I got home.
Oh, so you went home.
He called me over the phone, and they told me if I was the owner of he described my Mercedes, and I told him that yes. He told me that he had found my car abandoned at the Father McNoble Park. And I told him that it wasn't abandoned. I told him that my sister was with my nephew in the car, that my sister was there. And he asked me who my sister was, and he told me he needed to speak to me. And I told him that what was wrong, if he could tell me. And he didn't say anymore. He said that I needed to come in person or he can come to me. And I told him I could go home, that it was not a problem.
How did you get home?
When I'm on the phone with him, my line is ringing. My husband's already calling me. And I hang up the phone with him. I switch over the line. And I tell my husband to come pick me up. And he tells me I'm already on my way. Everything was happening so quickly because he also gets the alerts from Vivint. So while I'm talking on the phone, I imagine he was able to see the video closer and see who was at the house by looking at their uniforms. So he tells me he's on his way to pick me up. He picks me up at work. And he takes me to the house.
What happens when you get home?
We get there within about 5 minutes, and he pulls up to the driveway, and I automatically jump out of the truck and run toward where the officer is at, and I tell them where my sister's at. And they tell me to calm down and to relax, and that why am I asking about my sister? And I tell them that if they have my car, my sister is there, because my sister and nephew were with my car. So I need them to look for my sister, and I need them to look for my nephew.
Were you able to identify your sister for the police?
I'm sorry?
Were you able to identify your sister, give them her name and description?
Yes, he asked me for my sister's name. I give him my sister's name. I give him Dominic's name. And he tells me, why would your sister have your car? And I tell them that she was meeting Dominic's father at the park and that she should be there. And then he goes on to ask me, who was she meeting? And I tell him, Anthony. And I'm telling him he's a border patrol. And his face, when I say that, his face just changes. And he tells me, what? And I tell him, yes, she was meeting the baby's father, Anthony. He's a border patrol. And he goes on to ask me, Anthony what? And I said, Anthony Burgos. And at this time, the other officer is coming in front of me and being off to the side. And I can see having his radio or something and talking on it. And I just turn around to try to see what he's doing. And the other officer starts asking me questions, trying to distract me so I won't listen to what he's doing. And he starts asking me about my sister, why my sister had my car, the same thing he had asked me. So I already start panicking and getting very angsty.
How do you come to find out what happened to your sister?
he comes back and asks me if I have a photo of her or something that I can show him, and I show him the photos, and he still doesn't tell me anything. All they keep telling is that they're looking, and that they're looking for her, but they don't find them anywhere near the car. By this time, more family's gone to my house. My mom's already there. My dad's there. My godparents are there. My husband is there, but they're not telling. I steal my husband's keys and I go in his truck to the park to go and try to find my sister. And I go and I see my car where it's parked. I look all around, but there's nothing. There's nothing, just my car and the detective next to it. And I'm trying to look through the bushes, through the trees, see if I see anything. Nothing near my car. They tell me I have to go home. I head back to my house, and it isn't until hours later till I'm told that my sister and my nephew were murdered. Yes.
And while you were there, did you provide them information at the station that happened?
Yes.
Now, I'm going to switch gears here and bring your attention back to the leg injury now. Now that Dominic has been killed, what, if any, concerns did you have about that leg injury? And what,
There were no more concerns. I knew it was him that he tried to kill the first time he saw him.
What, if anything, did you do? What type of action did you take, if any?
I told the officers that prior to Dominic's murder, he had been hurt, and we all suspected it was an insect bite, but that they needed to look into it because I was highly suspicious, if not certain, that it was his father that had tried to kill him at the park the first time on their meeting.
Did you do anything else? Did you call anyone?
I called the coroner myself because I was afraid that it was going to fall through the cracks and nobody was ever going to tell her to look into Dominic's leg, and it was going to go unseen as if maybe he's injury that was murdered. And I was right. Won't call her. She had no idea. Nobody had told her yet.
Okay. And when you say her, who is her? Who is she?
Dr. Stern, the coroner.
Is it Dr. Colleen Stern?
That's correct.
She's a web medical examiner?
That's correct.
And you asked her to do what?
If she could please examine his left leg because he had sustained injury prior to his murder, and that I was highly suspicious and certain that it might have been an attempt on his life.
Do you remember taking her some photos so that she could see those?
Yes.
And were you able to show Dr. Stern those photos so she could look at the leg?
Yes, but it was at a later time when she had already done all her examination.
Okay, and but do you know if she did in fact re-examine the leg?
She did. She told me herself that she would be excising a good amount for future testing to find out exactly what was going on with his leg.
Okay. Now, keeping in mind, this is in reference to the injury that he would have received 15 days before, correct?
That's correct.
So this is already more than 2 weeks prior. You're asking her to look at the injury to his leg, correct?
That's correct.
At this point in time, was there still nothing on the surface visible as far as...
Point and about 2.5 cms of bruising all around. What appeared to bruising.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's marked as Exhibit 498. Ask you if you recognize it. This document, take it out. Just one. Okay, just one.
Yes, it's a message from my sister.
The message between you and your sister?
That's correct.
Okay. The essence of the topic we're discussing, and also
And it's approach.
Yeah, he only cares for himself. Like, and I can't believe he's incarcerated and in jail. He's cheating. Like, your wife has to just find all of this out. Like, and you in jail cheating. So, could you give your family time to get over what you did? And they didn't even know that he had a child outside of the marriage or whatever. And then he told Griselda that he wasn't with his wife. But that's crazy. He never saw this baby until she filed for child support. Once she filed for child support, he wants to see the baby. They play all of those conversation. They found the Snapchat because he took things off of text and moved to Snapchat because it goes away immediately. So they play all in this trial. They play all of that. Like, these investigators,
What number was that again?
not playing. They need to, like I said, go
States 498 is admitted.
train Fulton County.
Thank you.
Remember receiving this text?
Yes.
Read it to us.
I really thought this Easter he would be running everywhere, and he won't be. I'm doing an Easter do-over when he's better.
Remember her sending you that picture with this?
No.
461?
Yes.
Thank you.
461. Now that you remember the
Yes.
picture,
Yes.
is
Yes.
this it?
Yes.
Easter, was that going to be that week? April? First week in April?
Yes.
Now we pass the witness.
You can document, please.
Yes.
Let's make sure to get to the exhibit back on the exhibit table. Or are those your copies?
No, sir, we'll send it to
All
the
right,
order.
thank you. You may proceed.
I'm so sorry for your loss. I just have a few questions. Okay, I'll be honest. You never met Mr. Burgos yourself, is that correct?
That's correct.
And you never spoke with him yourself?
That's correct.
And you weren't present for any interactions between him and your sister?
That's correct.
And you've talked a lot about the injury that Dominic got on March 9th.
Mm-hmm.
And you went to the hospital with your sister that day.
Let me
That's
share
And you
Yoda.
brought the photos that you had taken.
That's correct.
And you showed,
That's correct.
and they diagnosed it as an insect bite.
That's correct.
And you weren't present for the urgent care visit
That's correct.
or the pediatrician visit.
That's correct.
But you were aware that they also believed it to be an insect bite.
Because of my suggestion to start off with.
Yeah. And on the day of the murders, you went down to the station and you talked to Detective Ramirez there.
That's correct.
And you discussed the spider bite with him.
What was suspected to be a spider bite. That's correct.
Yeah. And you told him, I believe, that the doctors.
Again, because of what I stated originally.
Yeah. And that they couldn't diagnose the type of spider without the insect.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
You told Detective Ramirez that the doctors suspected a brown recluse, but they couldn't confirm without seeing the insect.
I don't recall that. If you have a video of the playback, I can confirm.
Okay. That's good. Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Yeah, you shouldn't have asked those.
Listen, you may step down.
Thank you.
Be careful. Do you suspect that you're going to call her back for any reason? And there's been a request to release her from the rule, and the court is inclined to do so. All right. You are released from the rule, ma'am. You may remain in the courtroom or go back. Thank you. However, talking to anybody else about your testimony that is already a witness, that's going to witness, remains because of the rule against your next witness.
Dr. Antonio Rodriguez.
Dr. Antonio Rodriguez, please. Good afternoon, Dr. Rodriguez. You have been sworn in, is that correct? Yes. Please have a seat right over here, and we'll get started.
Good afternoon, Doctor.
Good afternoon.
Can you please get near the mic and we'll close to it so the court reporter can record your testimony. Thank you. Start off by asking your name.
My name is Antonio Rodriguez.
And what is your occupation?
I'm a physician.
And what kind of physician are you?
Pediatrics.
How long have you been practicing medicine?
26 years in Laredo.
And what does your practice mostly consist of?
I see patients from newborn until age 18, sometimes longer.
Okay. I'm going to show you, if I may approach, Your Honor. Here it is. I'm going to show you what's been previously marked as State Exhibit 85. Ask you to recognize these documents.
Yes.
Can you look at their entirety to make sure?
I believe they are.
Are we able to introduce State Exhibit 85?
Any objection?
I think you said no objections. Okay. Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen what State Exhibit 85 is?
These are my medical records, most of them from my office.
Okay, and this is regarding who?
This is Dominic Hernandez.
Okay. And do you recall the first date that, well, let me ask you this. Was Dominic Hernandez one of your patients?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember examining Dominic on or about March 26, 2018?
I do.
Okay. Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what the reason for your examination of Dominic was?
Dominic came in complaining of pain to his left eye, I believe, and that was after a visit to the emergency room the day before, I believe.
Okay. And what, if anything, as far as your protocol, was your procedure in ascertaining what the problem was?
Initially, it was first the patient's history given to me by the mother, and also the history that she being seen the day before in the emergency.
And what historical information was the mother providing for you?
She initially reported that the baby had some inflammation or swelling to the thigh. She was concerned about. She initially took him to the ER and reported to me that at that time the patient was diagnosed with an insect bite and instructed to follow up in my office if the patient did not improve, or just for follow-up to make sure that the patient was getting better.
Okay. And as far as that historical information, did you learn that she had the child outside or at a park or that nature?
I believe she told me he was outside. I don't remember whether she told me where he was.
Okay. But the suspect was an insect?
Insect bite, yes.
Okay. So what, if anything, and let me ask you, would it help you to review or have your notes?
Yes, please.
Okay. Because I know it's been a while since we've done it. Are you asking me questions right there? Do you remember the demeanor of the baby when you first saw him?
I do. He was like a lot of babies when they come to me and needing procedures, upset and fearful initially.
Okay. Did you get to assess the situation?
I did an exam which included his leg, but also his general physical exam, which included eyes, ears, nose, throat.
Okay. What is it that you ultimately conclude from your examination?
I believe my working diagnosis at that time was that Dominic had an treated insect bite after being given an injection of antibiotics 1 day prior in the ER.
Okay. And again, I think you said that you had based your diagnosis based on the ER visit and based on what mom was telling you?
Correct.
And plus the visual of
Correct. The baby's exam, yes.
Okay. Did he have any follow-ups with you?
I think I saw him 3 days later.
Did you ever have the benefit, Mama, in this case, remember the mother, Grisela Hernandez?
I do.
Did you ever have the benefit of having her show you some pictures of the injury at the time of the injury?
I don't recall her showing me any photos, no.
Okay, so you didn't have that benefit of looking at photos?
No.
Okay. By the time that you did see the baby, or even at the second visit, what are you seeing on the leg?
The first visit, there was still some redness there, and there was definitely some swelling that I palpated on the exam. During the second visit, the redness had pretty much dissipated or markedly decreased, and then the patient's leg swelling had decreased, but mildly. It was still there.
Remember putting down edema to left thigh? What does that mean?
Edema means swelling of the thigh.
Okay, and then you put limp with gait. What does that mean?
That means as I tried to get him to walk, he would walk, but he would definitely favor that side of his leg, that side of his body.
Okay, what's palpation, tender to palpation?
That means pain to feeling the area that was hurting him.
Now, can you show us what you do to check that with your hand?
Sure. Generally, if the baby's cooperative, you just kind of just palpate gently around, and then use your fingers to kind of feel around the wound or the swelling area, and then go further in to see how deep or how significant the swelling is.
Was he reacting to that?
Yes.
Okay. What about cellulitis to the lower limb?
You mean as far as the diagnosis?
Yes. What does that mean?
That means an infection to the deeper tissues, not just in the upper level of the skin.
Now, what if? Now, again, you said that you did get a reaction from him when you're palpating or touching. What's the reaction the baby's giving you?
He was crying, pulling back. I believe his mother had to significantly try to calm him and hold him down so I could take a feel of his leg.
Okay. Did you order any tests at any time of him, or any radiology?
I think on the second visit, I ordered some blood work and some x-rays.
Was there anything significant that came out of that?
He showed to have, the x-rays were normal. There was no obvious bony lesions or bony imperfections. There was no sign of infection. The blood work showed some moderate, anemia.
What does that mean?
Low blood count.
Okay. Now, when you said the x-ray, that was for like bone density or bone injuries, fractures, broken bones?
Correct.
So there was no broken bones?
No.
Okay. Did you have any concerns during the second visit compared to the first visit?
By visual exam, I was relieved the redness was gone, but his pain seemed to be disproportionate to how much it had improved. In other words, his pain was not improving at that time.
Ultimately, what was the course of treatment that you gave or ordered for Dominic?
I believe on the second visit, I placed him on some oral antibiotics to give him a treatment to treat a cellulitis that was my working diagnosis at the time.
Okay. Now, just to be clear for the jury, looking at your records, you only got to see him 2 times, right?
2 times, yes.
Okay. So when the last time you saw him was on April the 4th, 2018?
Yeah, actually, that was the 3rd time.
Okay, April the 4th.
Are we talking just about this series of visits?
Yes.
Because
I'm sorry, just this series of visits regarding the leg injury?
yes, correct.
It's 2 times?
3 times.
3 times.
26th, 29th, and I believe the 4th.
Okay. And that is reflected in your records? Can you check?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So the one of the things that you testified to is what concerned you was that his level of pain was not appropriate, or it was not.
I would expect it for him to have improvement with both the physical exam and also his level of pain that he was having.
Okay. And when was so what was your final? You ordered blood tests. You found him to be a little bit of anemia. You said.
Yes.
And what did you end up prescribing for the baby?
At that time, I gave him some iron supplementation, and usually after placing the baby on iron, I usually see him 3 to 4 weeks later to repeat some lab work to make sure that the anemia is responding.
Okay. After April the 4th, did you ever get to see him again?
No.
I'm going to show you what's been already admitted, and you did testify that you never got to see photos from taken the day of the.
No.
Okay. I'm going to show you what state exhibit 463. Okay. Do you notice the color, the dark black brown color of the blood?
Yes.
You notice that injury?
Yes.
And this is 464. 464. And that was 464. 463, and I'm going to also show you 484. Okay. You ever seen these photos before? Can you describe for me, in your opinion, what type of injuries this is?
It looks like a pinpoint lesion, and I believe that's the thigh. I can't tell because of the closeness, but
How about that? Hold on, let me back up. Is that the thigh?
yes.
And what is this that's around the lesion?
That looks like the level of swelling around that pinpoint lesion.
Okay. Now, when you say
Could I approach real quick?
So yeah, this guy sits there with the smug look on his face. He's so bothered that he got to come to court
463 was taken
for his crimes.
the day of the, which is the 25th. You have not seen this one,
You see?
correct?
No.
And 464, which was taken on the 25th. You did not see. He said I never showed these to you. correct?
No, I don't. I never saw them in the office, no.
2 days after the suspected injury, this other photo was taken. My question to you is, on State Secret 44, did you ever show him this photo? Like you said.
No.
Now, can you please explain, when you say a pinpoint lesion, what is that?
It's basically a description of the wound. Basically, the way that it looks, you got a sharper, very skinny Sharpie, and looked like basically a pinpoint. It looks.
Would it be fair to say that a pinpoint is consistent with a puncture?
Yes, more than likely. That's what I think about when I see a baby like that, is some sort of puncture wound, be it an insect bite or lesion from some other source.
A needle?
Yes, a foreign substance.
It could be a pin? Like
Pen, safety pin.
a safety pin?
Yeah.
Things that break the skin?
Sure, break the top level of the skin and goes into the tissue.
And out?
Yes.
Okay. Diagnosis with what you had at the time, you determined, or you went with the course of treatment for an insect bite.
Correct.
I'll pass it. Any questions?
Thanks, Dominic. Good afternoon, Doctor.
Good afternoon.
Doctor, you saw Dominic Hernandez on March 26, March 29, and April 4, correct?
Yes.
And which time diagnosis was that his injury was caused by spider bite?
I believe my working diagnosis was an insect bite.
Insect bite. You also diagnosed him as having cellulitis, is that correct?
Yes.
That's an infection possibly caused by an infected spider bite?
Or insect bite, yes. Or really any break in the skin.
Did you also review records of Dominic Hernandez?
At that time,
Or at any time between the first and the last time that you saw him?
I don't recall that those were available to us at that time. I might have seen them, but I'm not sure.
Have you reviewed them at any other time?
I think we had him from VitalNet, I believe.
Do those records also indicate that Dominic had an allergic reaction?
Let me review this. I see that he was giving Benadryl, but I don't know if they diagnosed him with with an allergic reaction.
Do you need more time? Or are you doing the video?
Yes, no, I don't see that here that he was diagnosed with an allergic reaction. I do see that he was given Benadryl though.
When you first met with Dominic about this extended procedure to get a history of the patient, correct?
Yes.
And you were told that the emergency room had assessed the injury as a spider bite?
I'm not sure if they said spider bite. It was either spider bite or insect bite.
Where did that diagnosis?
His working diagnosis was an insect bite.
Spider bites and subsequent infections are somewhat common in the radon around March, is that true?
Spring, summer for sure, but year round really.
Especially with young kids?
Yes.
And every time that you saw him on 3 occasions, on March 26, March 29, and April 4, 2018. Your treatment that you prescribed was for an insect bite, correct?
Insect bite and cellulitis, yes.
So, you also met with police investigators regarding Dominic's injury on April 25th of 3?
I believe so.
Or would that have been earlier in 2018? Did you meet with police?
I don't recall a specific date.
The investigators told you that the medical examiner had found a suspicious puncture wound on Dominic's leg. Do you recall that?
Yes, I believe so.
But you assessed the injury as an infected insect bite, correct?
Yes.
And you told the investigating officers that it is common for children to get infected insect bites. Do you recall that?
Yes, I believe so.
Your diagnosis, your assessment has not changed from the first time that you examined Dominic to the present time?
As far as at that time after the 3rd visit?
Yeah.
Yes, my working diagnosis for those 3 visits was cellulitis.
Caused by an insect bite?
Yes.
And you had no reason to believe that the injury was caused by an injection of any kind? Do you?
By history and exam at the time, no.
Now, isn't it true that spider bites, particularly a brown recluse, can cause anemia?
Yes.
And you also found anemia in Dominic, is that correct?
Yes.
That's all I have, Dr.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
You prescribed some strong antibiotics for Dominic, correct?
Yes, on the 2nd visit.
Would those have theoretically, would they have stopped the necrosis from forming?
For diagnosis of cellulitis?
Yes.
Yes, once you start appropriate treatment, the tissue actually should heal fairly quickly.
You testified earlier that one of the surprises you had was, or one of your concerns was that his level of pain continued, or did not diminish, instead it was persistent, correct?
Correct.
Would you agree that, and although you were operating under the premise based on the history given to you by the mother, that it was a suspected spider bite, and that you also, the ER had also talked about an insect bite, that you were comfortable in pursuing that protocol?
Yes.
Did you have any reason at all to suspect a pinpoint puncture wound at that time?
No.
However, and you were accurate in saying, you answered right now to Mr. Peña's questions, that based on what you had in front of you at that time, what was the word you used? You were operating or dealing with an insect bite, what you say? How do you describe it?
Working diagnosis?
Yes, the
Correct.
working diagnosis is what's in front of you, correct?
Right, which can evolve with time depending on whether the patient gets better or not.
Okay. Would you agree that based on this spider bites guide that is?
Show us what, just on the document imagery.
Yeah, let's say, this is
And I know I asked you this before, but how many pages is on that exhibit?
that was 3, yes, sir. You were asking before. It's three on this exhibit.
3 on that one, thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
147 you said?
497.
497, thank you.
This has already previously been brought in, doctor, but this is a spider bite guide. Would you agree with me that in most spider bites there's going to be a manifestation of either infection, necrosis, or redness, swelling around the bite itself,
Yes.
and that was not present in or only maybe perhaps some of these symptoms were present in Dominic's case?
Yeah, he had redness, he had swelling, and that was approximately about 24 hours after he had been treated with antibiotics in the emergency room, I believe.
Do you see any necrosis? Is it common that around a spider bite wound or bite that you will begin to develop the necrosis or cellulitis on the upper dermis of the skin?
With that or any bug bite, you're going to get swelling, you're going to get redness, especially the first 24 to 48 hours. Although no, I'm not an expert on spider bites, but brown recluses are famous for causing significant tissue necrosis within hours, not a day or 2 or 3 days later.
But, and that's good you say that, because none of that was present in Dominic's case.
No.
He had swelling,
He had redness
And redness.
and the pain.
and pain. What was the working, what'd you say?
Working diagnosis.
That was your working diagnosis that you had.
Right.
What eventually happened to your patient? Did you come to find out what happened to your little patient?
I did.
And what is that?
I learned that he was killed
Okay.
on the news, I believe.
And did you come to find out afterwards, in dealing with law enforcement, that there were needles found in the property belonging to the suspect?
Yes, I believe I was told that.
Knowing what you learned after the fact, the information that law enforcement provided to you after the needles, does that change the working diagnosis that you're dealing with?
It changed it and it broadened it, of course. It broadened it. It makes me think of other things besides a cellulitis or an insect bite.
What does it make you think about?
It makes me think of trauma.
Something broke the skin?
Yes.
Something punctured that skin?
Yes.
Something other than a spider bite?
Correct.
No further questions.
Just a few questions if I may. Dr. Lorenzo, you saying that learning that a hypodermic needle was found in the belongings of Mr. Burgos, that made you think of other possibilities? That's not a conclusion that you reach, is it? It's just something else that you consider.
Correct.
No further questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Sit down. I believe that we are releasing you from any further testimony. You may go back to the. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's see how much.
Dr. Stern, Your Honor?
Maybe a little bit longer, no? Approach.
All right, so let me look over here and see how much.
Let's go in and take a real quick break, bathroom break, and then come right back and start again. Thank you.
Yeah, let me see, because we almost.
Academy of Forensic Sciences.
Oh yeah, this is the lady where. Ooh. All right.
Okay, no. Levanta. Oh yeah, let's do that.
Oh yeah, this is the doctor that they tried to. Oh my goodness.
Are you on? Okay. Please raise your right hand and be sworn.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Thank you, Doctor. You have a seat over here. Jury's going to come in a second, hopefully.
This is a doctor that the defense had an issue with. They tried to discredit her, so she's testifying. So they brought her back, and she was heated. Like, and I would be too. I went to school for all this time. You know, I'm a medical examiner, and like they just tried to discredit her, and it was just not cute at all. But yeah, when she got back on the stand, she basically had to let them know, like, listen, it is what it is. And they had such a large digital footprint anyway. Like, they were able to, you know, this is not, you know, Love and Detective Thorpe and them. This is, these people are really, you know, they do this. So it was just crazy how they tried to discredit this doctor. Like, all right, let me get this off. I thought that we were starting back up. What happened? Oh, yeah, here it is. I didn't want to go too far out.
Mr. Anish, your next witness is?
Dr. Karin Stern, Your Honor.
All right. Good. Please proceed when ready.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can you please state your name for the record?
Dr. Karin Stern.
What is your occupation?
I'm the Chief Medical Examiner for Webb County, Texas.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about your educational background? field as a medical examiner?
Sure. I received my undergraduate degree in medical technology from the University of Mary Hardin Baylor in Belton. I graduated from medical school at the University of North Texas Health Science Center in Fort Worth. I have a master's degree in public health. I went to medical school at the University, did my residency at the University of Hawaii at Manoa in Honolulu. I then did a surgical pathology fellowship at the University of Texas Health Science Center in San Antonio, and I did my forensic medicine fellowship with the Office of the Armed Forces Medical Examiner in Washington, D.C. I am licensed to practice medicine in the state of Texas. I passed my boards in 2001. I'm a member of the National Association of Medical Examiners and the American Academy of Forensic Sciences.
Okay. And what is forensic pathology?
Sure. So forensic means law. So I practice pathology or practice medicine as it deals with the law.
And in your capacity as a medical examiner, do you perform autopsies?
Yes.
And what is an autopsy?
So an autopsy is a complete exam, both external, the outside, and internal, the inside of the human body.
Okay. And how long have you been the medical examiner in Webb County?
About 16 and a half years now.
Okay, so is it fair to say you've conducted many autopsies?
Yes.
Okay. Have you testified before as an expert witness in forensic pathology?
Yes.
Okay. On how many occasions? Few, many?
Many.
Okay. And I'm going to kind of take you back to the year of 2018.
Okay.
Okay. Do you? I know you have an office. Can you describe the structure of your office as far as your personnel, investigators, and things? What typically happens when the medical examiner office gets called on a dead body?
Okay, so we're a full-service examiner's office. I have full staff. I'm currently the only medical examiner there. I have a staff of full-time and part-time medical death investigators, full and part-time autopsy technicians, and also my office staff. So in the state of Texas, certain deaths under the statutes have to be reported to the medical examiner. And when those are reported, we usually send an investigator out to the scene to investigate that death and also to make pronouncement. If it is a very suspicious death or thought that it might be a homicide and I'm here local, then I will go out on those scenes as well.
Now, do you, I know you have a staff, but do you still on occasion go out in the field?
Yes.
Do you recall responding back in the date of April the 9th of 2018?
Yes, I did.
Okay. You can tell the ladies and jury, where is it that you personally were sent to that day?
I believe it was Father McNay Park is where we were called. We did receive that call. It was a suspicious death, thought to be a homicide, and so I did report out to the scene with my investigator.
Okay. And if you can walk the jury through what happens when you get there on that day of April the 9th.
Well, the first thing that happens is we coordinated with the detective that was out on the scene that's called for us to get some background on the scene and also to get clearance to actually walk into the crime scene so we don't disturb any evidence. Our point is to pronounce the decedents, and that's what I did. We were brought over to a female victim, and I believe I made pronouncement on her death.
Okay. Do you remember the location in Father McNay Park?
It was not in a. She was in an open area, maybe on the side of a road or rail, from what I just remember of that day, and she was just lying out in the open.
Okay. Do you remember her position? How she was?
I believe she was prone, which means face down. I believe that is how she was found.
And what are some of the first things you do when you see her?
So I make pronouncement, and then we always get permission from the law enforcement there if it's okay to move her, and they did need to take some photographs. So we did move her into different positions so they could photograph both her front and her back.
Okay. And are you equipped with a camera in your office?
Oh yes, we take all our own photographs as well. That's correct.
Okay. Were you able to identify the female?
I don't recall off the top of my head whether she had already been identified. By the time we did send her for autopsy, she had been identified, but I just can't recall at the scene. I do remember somebody had been looking for her, and I believe her vehicle was out there, and so they had a good idea at that time who she was.
Okay. And you guys take a bunch of photos?
Yes, we take a lot of photographs.
Okay. Can I approach John? How many subjects were you with that day? How many did you see?
2.
Who was the first suspect? Male or female?
It was a female.
Can I show you what already? 193, 194, 196, and 197.
Mm.
Just look at those are already in evidence.
Okay.
Do you remember those photos?
I don't independently recollect the actual photographs, but yes, these were photographs that were taken there at the scene.
Okay. And do you know who's handling the body here?
That would be my investigator.
Okay, and were you present?
Yes, absolutely. I probably took those photographs.
So you're in charge of the scene?
Yes, if I'm out there, I absolutely.
Okay. This is 193, 194, 196, 197. These are graphic photos that I'll be putting up. For members of what do we see in?
This is Grisela Hernandez, and my investigator has a hold of her hand, of one of her arms, like her right arm.
What, are there any injuries sustained to this arm?
Yes, there are injuries. This dark area, you see, if you'll follow the blue gloved finger and go towards the right of the photograph, and you come to a dark crescent-shaped injury. That's what we call a sharp force injury or an incised injury.
Well, you know, I'm going to ask the judge if she can come off the stand so she can show it to you.
Yes, go ahead.
Can you come down?
Make sure she's pointing towards the court reporter and the jury. Okay.
So she can point it.
Okay, you can just face the jury and make sure the court reporter can hear you. I'm going to give you this pen in order to describe the injuries that the jury can see on there.
Oh, okay.
Without writing on it, just
Now I understand what you're asking. Okay, so I'm talking about this injury right here. Okay, so this is a sharp force injury. Just if you were just looking at the photograph without having seen the autopsy report, I can tell you it's a sharp force injury. So caused with something with some kind of sharp blade. It's not a tear. It's more like a cut, if you will, in layman's terms. In sand, this is sand and dirt from the ground that you're seeing here, and obviously blood that you're seeing in the other areas.
about here.
Yes, so yes. Okay, so right here, again, you can see another dark, a little bit of a crescent-shaped area. The same thing, it's a cut, if you will. At this point, hard to describe it any further on this photograph. Can't, looks like dried blood here. I can't tell from this photograph.
I'm going to show you now 194.
Okay, this is Grisela's left hand. You're seeing a sharp force injury here, also at the base of the thumb here. And you're seeing just the edge of one right here.
I'm going to show you now 196.
So I believe in this harder to orient on this photograph. This is obviously her hair, so this is towards her head. This is towards her feet. This appears to be a shoulder area here.
This is not the chest area.
I'm trying to see which way she's turned. Okay, because this looks like an ear here. Okay, so this is her ear. This is her ear. So this will help orient the helix of her ear, the cartilaginous part of the ear, and her hair. So she is already turned over, and I guess we're looking at her chest area. Right here, you see a sharp wound right here. Okay, so I believe here, this is part of her clothing. It probably looks like a bra strap here, her hair. So I think we're looking, this is her neck.
This is your mouth, right?
Yes, yes, so we're looking at a jawline right here. In the neck area, and you're seeing a cluster of sharp force injuries. These are consistent in this photograph with stab wounds.
What valuable, or what how can I say this? What vital
Structures.
so are under that network?
Pretty much our lifeline. We have our carotid artery that runs in here. You also have small jugular vein, jugular artery, but the carotid artery is the one we are most concerned with when we have injuries to this part of the neck.
She's got one directly
In the area, yes.
of where the jugular vein is.
The jugular and the carotid, if it's deep enough. The carotid sits much deeper, but is in that area.
And I know it was out in the field. Were you able to get a guesstimate of how many stab wounds she had on her?
She had multiple. She had multiple stab wounds. Because of the amount of blood, she did lose a lot of blood externally as opposed to internally. So it was very hard to tell out in the field.
How much blood was there out on that dirt trail?
A lot. A lot. She bled externally.
Okay, you said there was also another deceased person at the scene, correct?
Yes.
And tell the jury who you found.
So I found her son,
What was his name?
Dominic.
Okay. Can you describe his condition, Dominic's condition?
He was in the brush. I carried him out of the brush. What I first noticed is he had an injury to his neck. Again, appeared to be a sharp force type injury as opposed to a blunt force type injury. You're seeing it on the left side of his neck. also in that area that we're very concerned with, where the carotid artery runs.
This injury to Dominic, could that be a fatal injury?
Yes.
It's almost the same injury that his mother had?
Stab wounds that she had to her neck.
So ultimately, that stab wound to her artery, her jugular vein, would have killed her also?
Yes, without immediate medical attention.
Do you remember any other injuries that this little baby had to his body?
Yes.
Please tell the
I
truth.
pulled up his shirt and he had a short force injury to his chest.
Okay. Well, describe that injury that you saw was in his chest.
Again, a sharp force injury, consistent with having been caused with something with a blade on it, what we call, in layman's terms, a cut, not a blunt force injury, but a sharp force injury.
Would that be fair to say that it would have been above the heart or around the heart?
Yes,
area?
in the area of where the heart is underneath.
I'm going to show you 456, State's Exhibit 456.
This is how I found him.
Okay. And what do we see?
Don't close your eyes. You didn't close your eyes when you was doing it.
And you see the injury to the left side of the neck that we saw up close in the other photograph. I pulled up his shirt right there because I was concerned with the amount of what appeared to be blood on the front of his shirt.
What was interesting, did you observe any cuts or holes in the shirt?
I can't remember. I just can't recall.
And do you remember him having a lot of blood also?
Well, in the area, not to the degree that his mother had, but his clothing was saturated.
So he had 2 wounds?
Yes, that I could see at that time, to the neck and to the center of his chest.
All right, thank you. Have a seat. When you say you found her in a, is it a prone position, you said? Is that,
Yes.
and that means face down?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's been introduced, probably as 186. This is how you found her?
Yes.
Now, are you familiar with the term lividity?
Yes.
And can you please explain what that means, doctor?
So lividity is the settling of blood after somebody dies, and so your blood will settle to the dependent portions. So somebody who dies on their back, the lividity, the discoloration will be on the back, and if somebody dies down or on the abdomen, we'll see the front, except in it's exposed to pressure, because what lividity is blood pools in the vessels, and so after somebody dies, you see all that blood pooling. It's like a reddish purple discoloration of the skin. One of the first things we do when we get to a scene is we take our thumb and we press it in that lividity, and if you've ever had a sunburn and you press it really hard, it turns white, it blanches. So we want to see if the lividity is blanching. So if the lividity is blanching, that means the lividity is unfixed. So the decedent's probably had less than 6 to 8 hours. Press into the lividity and it's fixed, it doesn't blanch, then the decedent's probably been dead more than 6 to 8 hours. There are not a lot of things that affect lividity, so it's really the best tool we have at the time of the scene to put the time of death in a certain time frame.
Let me ask you, I'm going to show you what State's Exhibit 413, based on your expert, this has already been admitted also, based on your expert opinion, can you tell us what this appears to be?
Well, this photograph's kind of difficult because of the way the light. This was taken at the Nueces County Medical Examiner. No, it's
Can you come?
it's not your light. It is your light.
It is a light.
Yes.
So there's a glare.
Right at the autopsy.
There's a glare, and that's why, Your Honor, if you can sit down because it's distorted. But
Okay.
can you see?
Yeah, so there's no lividity to her back, okay, because she didn't die on her back, she died face down. Now, if the lividity is not fixed, and you turn it before it's fixed, it will shift, okay, and it did not shift. So her lividity was probably fixed at the time of that she was found.
So what? On her back or on her side?
Well, she could have been a little bit to her right side, and depending on how her skin folded, we can see some lividity there. That's not concerning. What's concerning is here, that she doesn't have lividity to her back.
So she may have been on one
Yeah,
side.
she may have been a little bit more to one side than the other.
Okay, thank you. This is another picture, Your Honor, that's also graphic, and you described the injury. You said that baby Dominic had to his sternum. Is that?
Yes, to the mid portion of his chest.
I'm going to show you 451. And is that the injury that you said was a puncture?
That's a stab wound.
That's a stab wound. And what kind of object cause that type of stab wound?
Something consistent with a knife. We can see the majority of stab wounds we see are caused by knives, but we can see them with screwdrivers or other sharp objects. But the point is, it's a sharp force injury.
Now, the full autopsy, was it performed by you in this case?
No, it was not.
Okay, what if anything did you do with the bodies?
So I had an obligation to speak at a Border Patrol conference that next day, and because of the severity of these deaths, we didn't want to postpone the autopsies, and so I have a colleague in Corpus Christi that will cover for me when I'm out. So we did transport the decedents to our office. They were put in cold refrigeration and then transported in the morning to the Nueces County Medical Examiner's office in Corpus Christi.
And just for the record, you did pronounce Grisela Hernandez dead?
Yes.
You did pronounce Dominic Alexander Hernandez dead?
Yes.
And based on your experience, what was the cause of the death?
Multiple stab wounds.
Would it be fair to be described as a homicide?
Oh, yes, sir.
At any time did you receive, so the bodies go to Dr. Fernandez?
Yes.
And what happens after he performs the autopsies?
My investigator, an autopsy text from our office, stayed with the decedents while they were there. When the autopsies were finished, they brought them back to my office.
And then you prep the bodies once they're here for
Yes, they were prepped. They were prepped, meaning we clean them and make sure they're ready to be released to the funeral home. So they were brought back to our office while we awaited for the family to make funeral arrangements.
And that was going to be done in this case?
Yes.
Prior to doing that, do you ever remember coming into contact with an Angelica Hernandez?
Yes.
How did you come into contact with her?
Angelica is Dominic's aunt, and she showed up at my office. I believe it was on the Friday morning after they had come back, and she had requested to speak to me, which I did, and she had some concerns about Dominic.
Okay. Is that unusual? For something
It's
like
not
that?
very common for that to happen.
Okay. Now, what was her main concern?
That a couple weeks prior to this, that Dominic had sustained some type of injury, and she wanted to know if I could put a second set of eyes on him and look at it and give my opinion on it.
Okay. And when you say second set of eyes, that's to give it another exam, another look at it?
Yes.
And what specifically was she concerned with?
So she had some photographs she had taken on her cell phone about an injury on one of Dominic's thighs, and that's what she was concerned with. It was what she described as a puncture type wound. And I agreed to pull him out and take a look at it.
Okay, I'm going to show you what's already been introduced as State's Exhibit 44. Is that consistent with what you're just describing?
Yes.
And 484.1?
Yes.
Okay. And she also had 463?
Yes.
So you pulled baby Dominic, and what, if anything, do you do with the jury?
So I look at this is the front or the anterior surface of his left thigh, and I look to see if I can see a wound there. Dr. Fernandez obviously has already seen that because he had made an incision into that area.
Do you remember her at all indicating to you what, if anything, the initial impression was of that wound?
Yes, they thought this was a spider bite. She did explain to me as soon as Dominic, as soon as they saw it, and I thought he was being fussy about it. It was painful that they immediately took him to get some medical attention.
So she relates to you that 2 weeks earlier, they experiences what they thought was a spider bite, but now that he's dead, she's concerned it's not.
That's correct.
What, if anything, do you find regarding this concern?
So when I look at the wound, it appears to be a puncture wound. My first impression, it looks like an injection site. That's just what it looks like something caused by the bore of a needle. I further into this wound, and the tissue down into the muscle was necrotic. That means it was dead.
Okay, so you go into the thigh deep and make a cut?
Yes.
And when you say how do you know it's dead?
Because I know what necrotic tissue looks like.
How does it look?
It's black. It's a deep purple black. It's dead. It's blocking out the whole skin with the wound. The big incisional biopsy, put it in my negative 80-degree freezer where it still sits today.
And based on your experience at this time, is it looking like a spider bite?
No, it is not.
You say that he has necrosis of subcutaneous tissue. Can you explain to the jury what that means?
That just means the tissue underneath the skin. So right underneath the skin, when the initial incision was made by Dr. Fernandez, he saw hemorrhage, hematoma. It's just means like a bruise underneath the skin. If you've ever had blood drawn before and then it gets puffy and blue, something similar to that. But I went much deeper down into the tissue, and below that area, the muscle was necrotic.
Did you see anything that would have resembled, and I'm going to show you what's been introduced already as 497, anything that would have resembled, spider bite infection on the surface?
No, this isn't a spider bite. There is nothing on the skin surrounding this wound. All the damage to the chew is subcutaneous. If you have a spider bite from a brown recluse, you get a lot of necrotic skin. You actually see it on the skin, and it's called like a developing wound, if you will. It starts in the center and it just gradually goes out and gets bigger and bigger. There wasn't anything on the outside of his skin. When you think of black widow bite, the same thing. We're going to see something outside of the skin, and I have to put my glasses. So it's just showing you widow brown recluse bites. By the way, you rarely die from these, but you can be very, very ill from them. But absolutely no indication that there was any kind of trauma to the outside of the skin. And sometimes, especially in a black widow bite, you can see the 2 little fang marks. And he definitely like that.
49.1, consistent with what you just described more as a puncture, not a puncture.
It's a puncture wound.
Okay, so
this is blown up, just so you realize. You're looking at a very magnified photograph.
Once you have this information and this opinion, what do you do? What action do you take, if any?
So I asked her where she initially took Dominic and where his mom had taken Dominic, and what did they do. And initially she told me they did take him to the doctor's hospital and they did draw some blood. So I hit the phone and called doctor's hospital if they still had his blood sample. Unfortunately, they did not. Too much time had elapsed.
So given the fact that the injury was 15 days prior, the blood that they had drawn from him was gone.
That's correct.
There was really nothing further that could be tested, correct?
That's correct.
Now, given your expertise and saying that this is a puncture wound, what would more than likely be the culprit or the cause?
That he was injected with something.
Okay. Do you ever remember talking to the detectives in this case and giving them instructions?
I did, and I told them this looked to me to be consistent with a large bore needle, and did they find any evidence at the scene of any large bore needles?
Okay. Did you come to find out that in his personal belongings they found needles?
In whose personal belongings?
In the personal belongings of Ronald Anthony Burgos Aviles?
Yes, I was told later.
Okay. And based on your recommendation, can you describe what this is?
That's a syringe. Okay, so that's what we attach the needle to.
So that's where the liquid goes in?
Yes.
Whatever liquid you're going to inject. And what is this?
That's a large bore needle. By the color of it, it should be an 18 gauge, but sometimes we see them, it's across the industry, everything's color coded, so that's probably an 18 gauge needle.
Okay. And State's Exhibit 352. And if I can approach just there, but these are clear if you see the person.
Okay, so this is a syringe and appears to have a needle already on this one. This is a large bore needle. I'm sorry. State's Exhibit 352 is it looks like a 3 ml syringe with a needle attached.
What size of needle?
This is I can't tell by looking at this. I'm sorry.
Okay. Nonetheless, it was a needle.
Yes.
And what about State's 351?
This is just the needle. This appears to be an 18 gauge needle.
Ooh.
It's a large bore needle. In other words, the tip of the needle that goes in is large, as opposed to a tiny needle like in a tuberculin syringe that you put into your skin, a tiny needle. This is a very large needle, such as the type of needle we use to draw blood after somebody dies.
Wow.
Could either type of these needles, any needle of this type, cause the subcutaneous necrosis that you saw?
It can cause the bleeding, the bruising, but the needle itself is not going to cause necrosis unless it's contaminated with something.
So in other words, whatever liquid may have been inside the syringe.
More than likely cause this.
But just to be clear, there was never any detection or analysis done to determine what, if anything, was injected in his
That's
body.
correct.
And just that he suffered a puncture.
That's correct.
I know you removed the portion of that square of skin, right? Did you try to send it anywhere to get tested?
Well, we have to know what to test it for. It is still sitting in the minus 80 degree freezer. There's thousands of things we could test for, and it's not feasible. We've consumed the whole specimen, so we needed something, some index of suspicion of some substance to be able to test it, and that was never found.
So in other words, there was never a substance
records to be able to compare it to ask to look for.
That's correct.
He know what it is. Look at him.
Good afternoon, Dr.
How are you? Good.
You mentioned that you first came into contact with Angelica because she contacted you.
That's correct.
Do you recall approximately what date that was?
I believe, just off the top of my head, it was a Friday morning, so it would have been maybe the Friday morning after he died. He was already back at my office, and I was already back in town, but it was early in the morning.
Well, that would have been maybe about 5 days after the murder.
Was that long, but somewhere in the neighborhood, I would say, of 3 days maybe.
Sir, can you use the mic?
Your examination of the wound, Dominic, that Angelica left caused by an injection, correct?
Yeah, she was concerned that he may have been injected in his thigh.
Did you review the medical records of Dr. Antonio Rodriguez pertaining to Dominic's wound?
Yes, I have them obtained his medical records.
Dr. Rodriguez's diagnosis was that the wound was caused by an insect bite, correct?
That's correct.
And did you have occasion to review the medical records from the doctor's hospital pertaining to Dominic's wound?
Yes, we did receive those as well.
And the physicians at doctor's hospital also diagnosed that the wound as an insect bite?
That's correct.
Would you disagree with those?
After I saw the wound myself, I tend to disagree with that diagnosis because there's no reaction on the skin itself.
And you took a tissue sample, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you ever do any type of testing, toxicology testing?
No, sir.
She just
No, sir.
said that. No.
So you cannot tell this jury that scientific testing shows that there was tissue consistent with an injection rather than an insect bite, correct?
Right, I cannot tell you that.
And you cannot tell this jury that shows the presence of some foreign substance that was injected into that site, correct?
That's correct, I cannot tell you that.
All you can really tell the jury is what Angelica told you that she thought the wound was, and your opinion based on your visual observation of the wound, correct?
Yes, my opinion that it's an injection is solely my opinion, based on my exam of the wound.
Doctor, you mentioned that you passed your boards. What part were you referring to?
The American Board of Pathology, my forensic medicine boards given by the American Board of Pathology.
I see. So what date did you get certified?
It was in 2001.
Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about your history. You've spent about the last 16 years as the medical examiner for West County, correct?
That's correct.
At one point, you worked as a medical examiner in Alabama?
Yes.
What years did that period of time cover?
That was from 2006, the very end of 2005, and almost to the end of 2006. I was there for about 14 months.
Approach, please.
Why are you looking like he got an attitude? Yeah, they did say it was a pretty big needle, Loa, but wow, this is just sickening how you've never met your child before, never seen your child before, and the first time you meet your child, you inject him with something to, over time would erase him. But the reason why he met with her that morning is because she was going to take this baby to get another opinion. And he told her, instead of taking the baby to get an opinion, to bring him to him first. And that's what she did. And he wound up, being able to do what he did to this precious little baby and his mother. And it's sad and it's horrendous. Like, nobody cares whether or not you are bothered that you have to be in the court. But wait till you hear how he spoke to his mother, because his mother came to the court to support him. I couldn't believe it. Like, what? Are you kidding me? And he's very disrespectful when they play his phone calls and stuff like that. I just want to know what's going on with the border patrol officers, because he's not the only one. It's about 3 or 4 cases of these border patrol officers that have turned into unalivers. They have a good case of I think his name is Jose. I'm gonna have to look it up again to see what his name is, where he started unaliving the streetwalkers and said that he was cleaning up the street. So yeah, it's just like and there was, you know, another case. It's either 2 more cases besides that one about these border patrol agents. Like, what is going on? What is going on? Yeah, that's the reason why he wasn't bothered until she filed for the child support, but she reached out to him to tell him that she was going to file the child support. Up until then, he had never cared or knew anything about the baby. And when they play his interrogation video, you will see what he thought of her. And oh my goodness, if somebody's watching that didn't see this trial before, wait till you hear what he did. Once he went to the scene and act like he didn't know. Oh my goodness, yeah, this person is. I couldn't believe what he did. I was sitting here. I was so mad. I was so mad watching this trial. He is a monster. He's where he needs to be. And like I said, I hope he met his Bubba.
I have to continue this conversation. I'm gonna try and take about 5 or 10 minutes max, but I need to do it without you all being present. So if it takes any longer, I'll call you back in. So
yeah, I don't know. Let me see if he even came back for this day or not, because this is almost done. But this guy, he's a real winner chicken dinner.
all right, please have a seat.
Oh yeah, he's back.
1 second.
He's lower. I agreed.
The objection, or I guess the anticipation from the state, was that you were getting ready to attempt to impeach the witness with, and that's the point. I guess Mr. Alanis believed that you were ready to impeach a witness with factual findings that were in fact incorrect with regard to her work at a previous position that she held. I think she just described it in Alabama. And that you wanted to get into that, and could you, I guess, I'm prefacing where we left off on the objection, so that you can in fact tell us where you intend to go and what, and then we'll take it from there. What do you want to be able to get into with regard to this witness? And on top of that, the witness is here, by the way. But I left her here just because there may be some testimony that we take from here so that I can make a decision, and then we'll take it from there. So if you want to preface your line of questioning, or perhaps you want to be into it with her now, okay, and then we'll decide whether that line of questioning comes in or not. Let's go. And of course, now you can make your objections freely because the jury is not present. And so this would be the topic of conversation, or the impeachment portion of his cross-examination that he would like to get into, and the court will make a ruling on that, on the appropriateness of that or not. Go ahead.
Dr. Stern, with all due respect to you, you worked at a Alabama related to a woman named Bridget Lee, correct?
I'm not sure. I know what case you're talking about. I know that's so long ago I don't remember her name.
You don't remember the name?
Yeah.
But it was a case where a woman was charged with capital murder based on your opinion that she had strangled and suffocated the child, correct?
It was a fetus. Well, an infant yeah.
And that case was dismissed subsequently because 6 different medical examiners determined that the child was actually stillborn. Isn't that correct, Dr. Stern?
Yeah, well, I wasn't privy to the defense to the other reports of what they found. That was my last case that I performed before I left the Alabama Department of Forensic Sciences.
And what was the reason for your leaving your job for forensic medical exam in Alabama?
We were miserable. My son and I were miserable in Alabama. Should have never left the state of Texas. That was the only reason. It had nothing really to do with my job other than we wanted to come back home.
Did you resign or were you terminated?
Oh, no, I resigned.
Now, these 6 forensic experts agreed that the child actually died of pneumonia rather than...
I believe that's the conclusion they came to, but the child would have had to live to develop pneumonia. So I haven't seen their reports or anything, but I have heard that they came up with a diagnosis of pneumonia.
And those 6 medical examiners all agreed that what you thought were bruises were actually signs of decomposition of the body.
I don't know. Again, I've never seen the reports, but I do know there was a disagreement as to why the fetus or the child died, the infant.
The questioning will be along those lines, rather perhaps a little bit more detailed.
Ms. Hernandez, what? Part of that is not, you're saying is not supported by whatever transcript you have there.
I think it's a mischaracterization of what took place in Alabama. I think it's relevant.
Well, let's talk about specifically. Mr. Peña is stating that there was a case that was dismissed and that largely was dismissed based on, I think he said 6 medical examiners. Medical examiners or whatever coroner. I don't know the difference because sometimes when you're the official medical examiner, you have sort of like a court reporter. Like when you're the official court reporter, you actually work for the court. When you're the official medical examiner of a county, you work for a particular county.
Right, and Alabama is a coroner jurisdiction, most of the state, so I'm not sure who's objecting to it.
So in any event, there was a, and so as a result of that, so is there anything that was said in the questioning by Mr. Peña, in fact, is contrary to what you believe the facts are?
Yes, I believe the facts show that there was a hearing held at the 24th Judicial District on about April the 9th of 2009 in the state of Alabama with the district attorney in that case.
Again, I'm asking whether there's anything contrary to what he said.
Yes, there is I think there's some distinctions on the in essence, the case was dismissed, it was dismissed, and I clarify that it was dismissed by the district attorney, not by the court. And it was done upon the district attorney's own motion after the defense had hired some medical examiners to tender some medical autopsy opinions to the DA's office. Ultimately, the DA taking the side of the defense attorneys on that case, seeking some other, opinions at the same time, which Mr. Peña is right, it was a total of 6. She was never found or disciplined. It was, in essence, a difference of opinions. And at the end of the day, the district attorney in Alabama unilaterally and arbitrarily decided to dismiss the case on his own.
I mean, if it's like Texas, the only way you can, I guess, dismiss a case is through a DA's office motion.
Yes, and it was done by the district attorney on his own. I have a transcript of the hearing where the district attorney justifies the reason why he dismissed the case. But Dr. Sherman was never found to have committed anything wrong. She was never disciplined by any board. She was never found to have committed any malpractice. And in fact, at the end of the day, was clear. So I think the thing here is that it's an attempt to mischaracterize and attack her credibility on a set of facts that is not relevant in this case. So that's what I'm saying.
Okay, I get that, and actually, this is one of the reasons few people become experts and are okay becoming expert and testifying in court and taking on cases, for a reason, primarily because every time you become an expert, on the other side there's another expert, and they're going to attack your findings and with all sorts of things, and unfortunately that's the nature of the beast. When you have a skill and a expertise and whatever, and you give an opinion such that is given in almost every case where there's a doctor that testifies, and they're subject to whatever it is, and I can't, especially in this situation, cannot sustain your objection and not allow as long as it's within the parameters of what you said earlier. I think Dr. Stern testifies and explains exactly what it is that she had in her possession when she made her decisions and what they may have had in their possession that in fact it changed her opinion. So in fact it goes to the weight. The justification for, similarly to Dr. I guess what Rodriguez or Ramirez was it came in today, he said I had a working diagnosis with regard to what this was. Again comes Dr. Stern and says it was something different because she had different information. But anyway, very good. Let's proceed. Let's get the jury back in. I don't want to have to bring Dr. Stern. I know she doesn't. Can you let him know? I don't know. We're gonna have to get them together because I'm sure some people went to the restroom, so it might take us a few minutes. I'm gonna stay right here and continue as soon as the jury is ready to come in. We'll get them in. Oops, I thought it was Excuse me? Okay. The last question was merely how long she had been out. I'm not sure you're talking about the one before that. I think it was just prefacing your previous question. Thank you.
Well, you stated that you don't recall the woman's name, but not but you do recall the case where the woman was charged with capital murder of her newborn child based on your diagnosis?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah. And then the case was subsequently dismissed because there were 6 different medical examiners that determined that the child was actually stillborn rather than strangled or suffocated, correct?
Well, that's right. Again, I don't know if they were medical examiners or coroners, but yes, whoever reviewed it, yes.
And are you aware that the district attorney who dismissed the case said that he would never have brought the case against her if he had been provided the correct facts from the beginning?
I'm going to object before
No.
She's already answered, but sustained. Go ahead.
Are you aware that the judge who dismissed the case said in 30 years of law practice he has never seen an expert make a mistake so bad?
Mr. Brooks, please.
I'm only being nice because you said he passed away. Cindy, I'm glad you told me that because I would have said some things about him, but I'm not, he passed away. So, because he was kind of, he was not funny in this trial, but him and the other attorney that has not, the one standing behind him, I forgot his name right now. Like, he is a whole mess. And Messy Bun, I don't know. I don't know. That's what we called her, Messy Bun. But she's an attorney and a professor. So she got to be doing something right. She sure is. I think I looked her up because I was like, what is she? She's always there. Why? What is? But I didn't even realize that. And how did I miss that? She is the one that she questioned the sister.
You have stated that you did not conduct the autopsies of any of the victims in this case, correct? And Angelica came to your office sometime on April 12, 2018, more than.
Several days after Dominic and his mom died.
And prior to that date, every medical personnel that examined Dominic believed the injury was consistent with an insect bite. Is that correct?
Well, I don't know that because I had not talked to the medical examiner who had performed the autopsy.
You did not think it was important to see whether he agreed with the opinion or not?
Well, I may have talked to him subsequently, but I'm telling you at the time that she came and had me look at it, I had not spoken to him yet.
Wouldn't it be standard protocol to do toxicology testing in a situation such as you have described where a medical...
She needs to know what she's testing for, sir.
And you have a contrary opinion that it's actually a wound caused by hypothermia?
Well, we didn't have a blood sample to test. I did call the hospital to see if they had that original blood sample on Dominic, but they had disposed of it. And without knowing what to test on the tissue, there's thousands of things. The law enforcement needs to come forward and say, hey, we found this, or we think it may be X, Y, or Z, and then we test for X, Y, or Z, or we're going to consume the whole sample and still not know what might have caused it.
But you did have the tissue sample that you excised from the wound, correct?
Yes, sir, I still have it.
And yet it was never tested.
We don't have anything to test for. We don't know what to test for. My lab probably tests for of substances, if not hundreds of thousands. We have to know something. We have to know what we need to look for. When you test tissue, you have to homogenize it. So you take a piece of it, and it's the easiest way to explain it is like you blend it until it's in a liquid, and then you test that liquid, and it consumes the sample. If we test for 5 things and it's not any of them, and then they find something, and now we don't have any sample to test for what we needed, and that's why that sample hasn't been tested. We don't want to guess. So right now, all we can say is he has a puncture wound, and that's what I've testified. He has a puncture wound.
A puncture wound caused by someone, no, not necessarily by hypodermic needle?
It could be by something else. I'm just saying it's consistent with. That's what it looks like to me. And that's what I asked when I saw it. I said, well, that looks like a large bore needle, injection site. And I spoke with the detectives and sent them to look for something like that, and that is what they came up with. But yes, it could have been caused by something else. Absolutely.
So you're not telling this jury that, in your opinion, that puncture wound was caused by an 18 gauge or any gauge hypodermic needle?
That's correct. I'm saying it's consistent with that.
But you don't really know what caused it?
That's correct. I do not know.
He knows.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
The fact remains that you did ask the detectives to look for a needle, correct?
That's correct.
And they did find a needle, correct?
Yes, sir.
And in possession of Ronald Anthony Burgos Aviles' personal belongings, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, reference is made to this case from the state of Alabama in 2009. A district attorney by the name of J. Chris McCool arbitrarily and on his own motion went to court and dismissed the case, correct?
That's correct.
Objection, Your Honor. That's not a question. That's an argument.
He opened the door. I'm just asking these questions. Correct?
That's correct.
And he did this after a defense attorney by the name of James Standridge went and got his own medical examiners to give their own opinions against yours, correct?
That's correct.
Were any of the examiners that the defense attorney went and spoke to, or that he went for second opinions, were they present during your autopsy in that case?
No.
Were there any other medical examiners at the district attorney's office at that time relied on to dismiss his case? Were they present with you in the autopsy of that baby?
No, not in the autopsy, but that case was reviewed before I signed it out by several medical examiners at my office. I do not know the medical reviewed it after the fact, but not a single case in that office was signed out without having several medical examiners sign off on it.
And at the end of the day, is it uncommon that other medical examiners may disagree with certain findings?
No, that's being an expert witness. This is the worst part of my job, is testifying on the stand. And I think if you ask any medical examiner or any other expert, that's what an expert is up here to be challenged.
And in fact, you came here today and you testified to this jury that you disagreed with the findings at Doctor's Hospital.
That's correct.
And that you disagree with the findings of Dr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
And based on observations and looking at the necrosis and what was going on deep into the dermis of this baby, this was caused by some sort of puncture and not a spider wound, correct?
That's correct.
And going back to Alabama, you were never disciplined for any wrongdoing or any malpractice?
There was no wrongdoing and there was no malpractice. Somebody just disagreed with my opinion on this case.
And ultimately, it was the DA, somebody like me, who went before the judge and said, I'm going to agree with the defense examiners instead of the state medical examiners. Is that right?
Well, I don't know that he said that, but the case was dismissed. I was here. I wasn't there to defend myself, or to defend the case.
But you still stand by your findings back then?
100%.
Okay. I'm going to finish off with, you said you made a determination of finding of death in this case, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Can I approach them? I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 500 and 501.
These are the pending ones. You don't have the amended ones.
Sorry.
But I'll explain it.
Can you speak into the record?
Oh, I'm sorry.
So what I'm showing you here, are you familiar with these documents?
Yes, so these are death certificates on both Dominic and Griselda. These are the original pending death certificates. We have a certain number of days to sign our death certificates, so when we're pending things like toxicology or any kind of testing, or a lot of times we're pending investigation of the death by law enforcement, we sign them pending. These are the original pending death certificates.
In any event, you did declare them there at correct?
Yes, they were announced dead at the scene, and then I later did sign their death certificates.
Okay.
That's correct.
Thank you. No further questions.
Just one or two more questions, Your Honor. Dr. Stern, isn't it true that the Alabama Forensic Science Commission ruled in that case that we've been talking about, that the child was in fact stillborn and not suffocated or strangled?
I don't know if they ruled it, but I do know that the whoever looked at that case on the defense side, their opinion was that the baby was stillborn.
Did the attorney agree, correct?
Well, I don't know what he agreed with. I do know he dismissed the case.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Judge. You may go about your business. I'm releasing Dr. Stern as we want to keep her. For some reason?
No.
All right, you are released. Your business. as much as I'd like to push on, I think we need to stop day one. And we'll push on some other days, but not day one. I don't want to discourage you all from the rest of the trial. As I dismiss you for the day, remember that.
All right. So they are dismissed for today. Just to let everyone know, I will probably be on tomorrow. Start at 3:30, unless somebody that's here drops it down in the chat to start at a different time. So I will go ahead and schedule it and have it up here. Thank you all for coming and watching this rewind with me. And I will definitely see you on tomorrow. And the people on Twitter, thank you for watching me over there. And people on Facebook, thank you for watching over there. So we're streaming to 3 different platforms. This one, Twitter and Facebook. And if you are a content creator and you want to be able to stream to other places, you can try Restream. They have packages where you can stream up to 30 channels at a time. And you can use my link. I'll drop it down here in the chat. So regardless of whether you sign up for a free account or decide to sign up for one of the packages, using my code, my link, I get a little commission, but at no extra charge to you. So, but it's totally up to you. I love Restream. I was having issues with StreamYard, so I decided to give them a try, and then I became a Restream partner. So that is the link here. In the chat, I put it just in case you want to get a Restream account. And as I stated, tomorrow I'm going to pick up where we left off today, and I'm going to schedule it for about 3:30. And also, you guys know I end my show the same way every time, and it wouldn't be me if I didn't tell you guys to go ahead and get your mammograms, fill your boobies to make sure that you are all right. All right. And don't you dare let anybody come into your house and disturb the peace that passes all understanding. I am Survivor Speaks, and I'll see you guys in the next one tomorrow, hopefully. Same time, same Survivor Speaks station. Peace.
Full cycle, I just might though just like a Michael. Mama gone now, I'm thinking death is not we entitled. And it was me versus me, them battles had to fight through. And when you way in the dark, them demons try to fight you. But you can't let them when you gotta see the damn light. Diabetes came from nowhere, messed up whole life. That's what I used to think, my mama helped me out. I got one dairy in this guy to make proud, don't count me out. Let's get it started, rest in peace my mama, I don't wanna talk. Fresh fit, who that little nigga, fresh the way he walk. New drip, I'm that one dude creating all the sauce. News flip, you that one do the worker, not a boss. It's safe to say that after all this, I'm standing tall. It's safe to say that after all this, I'm still gon' ball. It's safe to say that after all this, I never